Smiling?
We are live, YouTube, Twitch,
What's
and
up?
we have free agency period has officially started. The legal tampering period was 2 days ago. It is Wednesday as we are recording. Very important to point that out because when we go forward and publish these clips, people are going to be like, oh, but we signed this guy. Why is our grade so low? That's why. It's Wednesday at 3:30. So anything that we're talking about now is going to reflect that. Today, we're going to be talking about all 32 teams, their signings, their departures, and we're going to be assigning them grades, starting alphabetical order with the Arizona Cardinals. So if you're looking for your team, again, Cardinals at the top, followed by the Falcons, and then ending it off with the Commanders, who should be last because they are last. Starting off with the Cardinals, Drew, your division rivals.
You want to start with the Cardinals?
Yeah, Arizona.
I figured that you would want to start with.
No, don't stop right there. I have so much to say, bro. I don't even want to do it right now, dude. I'm sitting there.
Come on, you guys
No,
have a
dude.
productive offseason. You don't want to start with the Cowboys?
I'm sitting there on my phone at work. My phone was at 6%. 6% when I got home because I'm on it. I text you for every signing, almost every big signing. I'm up on top of a soffit. I'm hooking up furnaces. I have my phone next to me, swiping refresh on Instagram, trying to get all the signing news immediately. My phone's at 6% and nothing. The only time there was a star in the corner for the logo was for rumors. And every rumor, not true. It stayed a rumor. There was no official news. You know how disappointing. Monday, I was so excited. Nothing.
I think
Great
you
job,
re-signed
Jerry
your.
Jones.
I think you re-signed your long snapper.
Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, no, we'll get to it. Don't worry. Let's go ahead and start off with the Arizona Cardinals. 49ers division rivals. Brought in a couple of guys. Dustin Jones, Sean Murphy Bunting, Mac Wilson. Drew, I'm going to let you go ahead and start this one off because it is your division rival. What grade do you want to give the Arizona Cardinals?
So I just think that for the sake of this, I'm not going to try to grade the money or anything like that. And I also think that you're going to grade the money. I mean, on something big, I can, like paying a 30-year-old $90 million when you let AJ Brown go. You wouldn't want to pay him that. That was stupid. So,
absolutely,
something like that. But the Cardinals, I'm going to throw a C at it. A C to me is just average, right? You just did an average thing. Maybe you filled some holes. Maybe you, maybe you had a priority, you filled it, things like that. Obviously, the things with the Cardinals that is very interesting is they have a very, very high draft pick. They have a lot of options sitting at that pick. There's a lot of different things they can do at that pick. And so for them to make a huge splash in free agency, really they're going to look to build within the draft if it's taking a Marvin Harrison Jr. or trading back and stockpiling more picks. So free agency, overall, I'm going to give it a C. Now, obviously, later in the offseason, we're going to do off-season grades, which are going to encompass draft and free agency. That might change then, depending on what they do in the draft. But for right now, it's a C for me.
Yeah, I got a C plus on them. The reason I give the plus on that is because they did address some issues, defensive line, cornerback. Justin Jones, I'm okay with the contract. Same thing with Sean Murphy Bunting. Had an up and down year. He hasn't been super consistent, but he's good enough to bolster a secondary that needs the help. I think my favorite signing is the Mac Wilson signing. I really like the contract. The guy who's younger and he still has played at a decent level. I like the signings there. When it comes to the draft for this, the one thing they haven't addressed in the free agency that they need is wide receiver, right? And that's where they're most likely going to be targeting in that draft. Now there's reports coming out with the New England Patriots targeting Marvin Harrison Jr., a wide receiver in general, but if you're going to take a wide receiver first off the board, it's probably Marvin Harrison Jr. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is off the board for them there, do they go Malik Neighbors? Is that their consolation prize, or are they going to trade back and target somebody else?
I think you have to trade back. I mean, you could trade back to 10 or 15, still pick up a quality wide receiver and stockpile so many more picks. It just to overpick. And I like Malik Neighbors. I do. But when you're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., who has a like an AJ Green style comp. That's just a complete game changer. And then everything else out there is just a slight question mark. I mean, I would rather see them drop to 10 or 12 and try to get Odunze than Neighbors. That's just the way I have them boarded out right now. But
Yep.
I don't think that you can make, and a top 4 pick to take a tackle like Joe Alt, when Joe Alt, he's a solid player. He really is, but this isn't Panay Sewell, I think you just move back, stockpile, pick up, restock the war chest as it may be. And, the Cardinals need a lot of help. So to just I don't want to even say over pick, but unless it's Marvin Harrison Jr., unless it's the premier edge rusher that seems to come out every year that really we don't have this year. To go Neighbors there at 4, that would be a slight reach for me.
Yeah, especially when you have a team that has so many other needs, right? I definitely would agree with that. The Atlanta Falcons is next up. I'll go ahead and take this one. I'm going to give it a B. I see other people giving it an A, an A+, an A-. I'm going to give it a B. Has nothing to do with Kirk, right? Kirk is the A signing in this. And I really do like Darnell Mooney. When you need somebody to stretch the field and you go out and get a guy like that, that's a good signing. In a vacuum, it's a good signing. The money, I'm not the biggest fan of the money. He got a very similar contract. It's like almost the exact contract that Gabe Davis got. I think Gabe Davis is a little bit of a better player than Darnell Mooney, a guy who's a couple years removed from 1,000-yard season. At least we know Gabe Davis is around that 800-yard mark every single year. Darnell's up and down. You're not sure what type of play you're going to get from the guy. And I really don't like the Charlie Warner signing, $4 million a year. I don't like
Warner? Come on,
like
that's
that
my
signing.
boy.
That's cool, but not if you look at the other guys who are getting roughly $4 million a year. It just doesn't pan out. I don't like the Charlie Warner signing at all. So that's why I give it a B. Again, you're addressing some of the issues I like. Again, in a vacuum, the Darnell Mooney signing is great. Kirk Cousins is obviously fantastic. That's your splash, the biggest splash, the number one quarterback free agent on the market. You land them, but it's the money thing for me. That's my problem. What about you?
This is an A- to me. They went into the offseason, they went into free agency with one clear need, and they signed the best player available at that need. And so when you have a clear need and you get the best player off the board for that need, especially a player, I've put Kirk Cousins on every team that needs a quarterback need throughout the life of this podcast so far. I'm a huge Kirk Cousins fan. He's not a superstar, but he's so much better than everything they had and have had.
And anything that's on the market.
Yeah, since Matt Ryan. And at their pick, a JJ McCarthy might have been, in play there, but you just took a young QB recently and you've had other young QBs in there and it hasn't worked out. You go out there and you get a surefire, all-star talent, Pro Bowl talent, whatever you want to call Kirk. I know some people are higher on him than not. And we've also spent a good portion of this podcast talking about how terrible Justin Fields is. So I'm not going to, his skill receivers, his skill players that have played with him the past couple of years, I'm not going to hold that production against them as much. If they think that he fits the scheme and they might have big things for him to come. Obviously, a big question mark on Drake London, a big question mark on Kyle Pitts, a big question mark on Bijan Robinson. All of those players need to step up in a big way, and they got a quarterback for it. And just a little side piece on Charlie Warner. They released Jonnu Smith and they signed a tight end to take his place. Charlie Warner is not a pass catcher; he's a run blocker. He got a little more money than he was probably worth, and that's what happens with these guys is they get overpaid. And so I guess he feels the need for them as a blocking tight end. I don't have too many more thoughts on it except for that. But I definitely think when you get the best player available at your biggest need, at the most important position in the history of sports, to me, that's just, nothing else matters. The 49ers draft from a couple years ago, nothing else matters there because they got Brock Purdy. When you hit the quarterback position, everything else doesn't matter. It's an A.
Yeah. In looking at the draft too, early on they were really popular, and still now they're still a popular pick for edge rusher or defense in general, right? Yep. But they were also in play to trade up and try to take a quarterback. But now this is obviously out the window. You can sit. I think honestly, this might be a good entry spot for other teams, right?
Yeah.
If there's a quarterback still sitting on the board, whether there's talks of Drake May falling and JJ McCarthy going as a third quarterback off the board, with Daniels and and Williams going 1 and 2. If anyone, JJ, Drake, Jaden, anyone is on the board still somehow, some way at that pick 8, someone has to trade up and go get him, right? I think obviously a prime candidates, the Vikings are definitely going to want to. The Broncos, a couple of those teams are going to want to go give up that draft capital to go try to get one of those guys, and they could easily move back and still get a good defensive player, a Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, one of the corners. I think they're sitting in a really good spot right now.
Well, the other thing you have to remember also is if the first 3 quarterbacks go the way we think they're going to go, Caleb, a mixture of Jaden Daniels / Drake May, and then Drake May goes, there are teams that are very interested in JJ McCarthy, knowing that he's most likely going to the Vikings, who don't have, I mean, I guess they have Sam Darnold now, but that Falcons pick becomes a prime jump spot for the Raiders. It becomes a prime jump spot for the Broncos to leap in front of Minnesota. And with that in consideration, it becomes a prime spot for Minnesota to say, no, okay, we're going to hop to 8 because we're already at 11. It's only going to take a little. We're going to hop to 8 to make sure we get our guy. Because once you identify your guy, you have to take your guy.
Yeah, so you're jumping basically the other teams behind
to
you.
make sure they don't jump you 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting that section of the draft, picks 7 through 17. Obviously, we're gonna be talking about it live. I'm so excited for that. Actually, the thing about this draft is you have Caleb at the top, and then everything else is just a gigantic ass question mark. That makes it exciting. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
When you have a surefire number 1, we're going to be sitting here watching the clock tick down, knowing that Caleb's going number 1, and trying to stay off our phones so we don't know. The pick 1 is on the TV, and they've already told us what picks 1 through 7 are on Twitter. Like, try to stay off of that. But it's going to be
it's going D&D on draft night.
yeah, for sure. It's just a very, very exciting section of the draft, and the Falcons nailing free agency so far. Obviously, it's not over. Don't kill us if you're watching this next week. Like, we get it, okay? It like he mentioned, it's Wednesday, but so far to me, it's an A-.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh boy,
you want to take this one?
Yeah. I mean, this is to me, re-signing, their own players at the contracts they got is what needed to be done. And for the last couple of years, their biggest problem has been running back health. It truly is. The dynamics of having to pull Le'Veon Bell off the couch to have carries for you in an NFL game.
Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. Forgot the young kid who was playing last year. A couple of people. It's crazy.
Justice Hill, right?
Justice Hill. There was another one too who got injured for the season. Yeah, dude.
To again, a team that goes out, identifies what they think their biggest need is, and then they fill it with a massive player like Derrick Henry. Again, I'm not going to grade the money. I don't love the money for Derrick Henry, but also this isn't a player that's like, we've watched Derrick Henry for the last couple of years, and you sent me that statistic about players that faced an 8-man box, and he's had to do everything for them. And now all of a sudden, I mean, what do you want to crash?
Offensive line.
Yeah. Do you want to crash the edges to stop Lamar Jackson? Do you want to pinch the middle to stop Derrick Henry? Good luck. I'm excited to watch it. As long as the 49ers don't play the Ravens next year, which I don't know. I haven't paid too much, anything 49er related still has me on depresso mode. So I haven't looked at our schedule next year. I just know that we got a win coming up because we play the Cowboys again. But besides that, to me, the Ravens, it's an A. The Nelson Aguilar thing doesn't really move the needle for me too much, but they already got a young wide receiver. Hopefully he can stop fumbling the football before he runs into the end zone. But besides that, I think this was a great free agency for the Ravens. I didn't expect them to do much, actually, because they're one of those classic franchises that doesn't do a ton. Yep. But I was, I saw that signing and I was like, oh, every defensive coordinator in the NFL that plays them next year is thinking about what the hell are we doing with that.
I 100% agree with you. This is an A, not only just for the Derrick Henry thing, which I actually do like the Derrick Henry money. He rushed for 1,150 yards. I was looking at it the other day. He's second in the league in rushing, still facing. It's funny. The 1 and 2 for rushing yards face the highest percentage of 8 men in the box, Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. And Derrick Henry has less of an offensive line than Christian McCaffrey does. So, the yards might be a little bit different if they swap places. Still 1 and 2 might be just a little bit different. So I like the money for Derrick Henry, $8 million a year on average. And then the Justin Madubuike signing, he's now fourth in the league for interior defensive linemen for a per year money basis. Fourth, when the guy played around that ballpark area. He didn't get more money than Chris Jones. He didn't get Aaron Donald money. He didn't get above those guys. He got fourth, which is exactly where he should have been. He's been a really good player with little sack production. He got some of the sack production this year, along with still being a really good player in the run stop game. 100% deserves the money. I like the money all around for the team. You're addressing your need with running back, and you're re-signing your biggest free agent. Again, same thing with you. The Nelson Aguilar thing doesn't move the needle for me. It's fine. It's cool. We're going to have a couple of those down the line where it's like, yeah, cool, they brought back this guy. I'm not throwing my hands up saying whoop-de-doo. It's cool.
Long snappers.
I swear to God, dude. I'm gonna end it. So looking at the draft, though, the thing that is the consensus of drafting for the Baltimore Ravens, and I have a consensus draft right in front of me. Wide receiver is the most common need, or not need, but most common thing that is drafted for them. And with them not really addressing it outside of just bringing back Nelson Aguilar, I don't think it really makes a difference. I think they still target somebody in that later round. A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. I don't think they need an Xavier Worthy, but A.D. Mitchell, Lad McConkey would probably be a pretty good one. Keon Coleman, a big body over there, would probably be great for Baltimore. There's a couple of guys that they could go with, but I think wide receiver is where they still go.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see them take a wide receiver because the draft I saw most recently had them taking Chop Robinson, and I just hate the idea of them getting even better on defense by taking Chop Robinson. So by all means, take a boomer bust wide receiver. I love the idea for that. Not for them to be any better, mind you, just for the sake of my team, because I always see everything through the tent of red and gold. So,
right, which understandable. Not really. Buffalo Bills, C+ is what I'm giving Buffalo. You address some of your issues, like you need edge help. AJ Epinesa coming in, $10 million a year. It's kind of where he's playing at, is that $10 million a year mark. I think it's a fine signing. It's cool. Bringing back Daquan Jones, huge. He was injured a lot for most of the year last year. And when he did come in, he played exceptionally well, super highly graded, great run stops, a couple of sacks thrown in there as well. He's aging, so a 2-year contract makes sense. But then you go and you free up all this money and you make it a priority to re-sign Mitch Trubisky. Like, that's your priority all of a sudden. You also just brought in Mac Hollins to stretch the field a little bit since you lost Gabe Davis. I think that's really cool. But that's all you could bring in because you don't really have the money to. A lot of this stuff isn't moving the needle for me. The Dion Dawkins thing, he got a 3-year, $60.5 million extension. It's cool. Great. Played a ton of snaps, low amount of sacks given up. But now he's top 3 in offensive tackle money. So C+ for them. You're not addressing a ton of issues. You're bringing back a couple of guys, extending them. You're addressing the edge. Nothing really moves the needle for me for Buffalo.
Yeah, we obviously have a different grading process, which is going to make some of this inconsistent, but the Buffalo Bills are going to get a D from me. I understand the money, but I told you I'm not going to grade on the money. You lose Jordan Poyer, you lose Nyheim Hines, you lose Tre'Davious White, you lose so much
Mitch
talent.
Morris,
you lose
Leonard
so much
Floyd.
talent. You re-sign Taylor Rapp. I guess that's cool. Dion Dawkins gets the extension. That's cool. The Mitch Trubisky thing is a joke, waste of time.
Yeah.
You lost so much talent, you didn't replenish the talent. So when you released 7 or 8 guys and you have signed 3 or 4, you're now at a deficit of where you ended the season, and the season didn't end well for you. So to me, You haven't gotten any better.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the money, but your decisions put you in that place that, you don't get to say, hey, we had a good free agency considering we didn't have any money. Well, your prior decisions made it to where you didn't have any money. So that
Yeah.
it's an all encompassing thing. And I know you guys wanted to be the Los Angeles Rams. And you wanted to trade all your draft picks and sign all these guys and go all in. And it didn't work because the Rams won their championship during, in 2020, that just like
Yeah.
every other team in LA got their Mickey Mouse championships. LeBron and the Dodgers, they won 60 games and got a World Series. Congratulations. None of it really matters. So the Rams little thing they did where they traded away all their draft picks for a while, it kind of hasn't proven to be a sustainable thing. The Bills made decisions. They had to cut a ton of talent, and they, as of right now, they haven't replenished that talent. So, and I honestly really am not going to be the guy that gives a grade of an incomplete, because that's whack. But right now, it's just a D, because your team has Super Bowl aspirations and you've gotten worse. Your team is worse today than it was when the season ended, and that's just a fact. So, again, offseason grades come in later, this offseason, and that may change. But for right now, not a fan.
Yeah, and they could have an awesome draft. Right now, currently, at pick 28, they're slated. Once again, slating a wide receiver to them. This doesn't change for me. Matt Collins coming in doesn't move the needle, doesn't do anything for me personally. I'm still picking a wide receiver, especially when you're looking at the consensus draft and you see that Brian Thomas Jr. is the most common to fall to them at 28, which I don't know if he will. 6'3", running a 4.33 is kind of insane. One of 3 people to ever run that at that height. 45 pounds heavier than Xavier Worthy and runs at a 4th. It's a nutcase. It's to say the least. So again, doesn't change it for me. I think they should still go wide receiver. So far, free agency period hasn't done anything to change that. Moving along to the Carolina Panthers, I'm going to go ahead and let you take this one. I'm actually really interested to see what you say about the Panthers.
Cardinals just freed up $22 million by releasing DJ Humphries.
Yeah, that was kind of a cut that we were expecting, right?
We nailed those cuts, by the way. If you guys didn't go back and listen to our cut list on these players, I called Eric Armstead off the bat, as much as it hurts my soul.
Yep.
We nailed those cuts. So
we did.
The Panthers. Did you see the Luke Combs tweet?
I don't. I did. Oh, I don't have it in front of me, but I did see it.
I'll pull it up. At someday we're going to be fancy, and we're going to be able to share this stuff on the screen. But he said, Panthers, what are we doing? No first-round pick for McCaffrey a few years back and now none for Burns? Are we just firebombing the whole team here or what? I usually don't comment on these kinds of things, but it's becoming slow torture at this point. I actually like the Deontay Johnson trade. They needed a wide receiver. They brought in a wide receiver. The Brian Burns thing is what it is, Now, again, I've said this before, if they could have traded Brian Burns to the Bears instead of the wide receiver, I think that's what they should have done at this point. It's been kind of proven. But the Carolina Panthers, oh my gosh, we are so official. We are so freaking official. The Panthers are one of those teams, as I contradict myself and say I wasn't going to grade the money. Forget the money. They don't got no money. They don't got no draft picks. They don't got anything. So when you have a limited war chest of assets, and unfortunately, you don't get to walk into the car dealership and trade in your 98 Geo Metro and walk out with a Ferrari. It just doesn't work that way. So that's kind of what the Panthers are. They got a reliable 08 Camry right now, and they're not going to turn that into a brand new Toyota Tundra overnight. So Toyota, sponsor us. It's just one of those things where I'm going to go with the C for the Panthers. And I think that's probably, they didn't lose Brian Burns. They didn't lose him. They franchise tagged him and then did what they did. They brought in a wide receiver. Let me pull up what else they did, because it's really just the Brian Burns thing. Josie Jewell, that's a good signing. I really like
Robert
that.
Hunt, Damian Lewis, A'Shawn Robinson.
I'm guessing you liked it better than I did. I just, again, on paper, they bring in the wide receiver and they have no draft pick. Like, it's just, how much better is this free agency making this team? Especially losing Brian Burns. I don't know if it moves the needle for me, which is what a C is. Sure. It doesn't move the needle. Because it
I'm gonna
doesn't
give
make me angry. D's and F's make me angry. A's and B's make me happy. C's are just
I'm gonna give them a B. I and I'm gonna contradict myself. Okay, I said I'm gonna grade the money. I'm giving certain exceptions to certain situations. When you have a situation where you need to protect the middle of your offensive line because you have a little person at quarterback for you, it's very, very, very important to maybe overpay some of these offensive linemen. Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, bringing in those two guys changes it for you 100%. You change the dynamic of your team now. You're giving Bryce Young something, just a little bit to work with now. Now, if Ike Ekwonu can now turn it around, go back to his rookie season and build off of that instead of having a terrible sophomore season, now we're talking about a decent offensive line. Bringing in Deontay Johnson is really good for him. Solid possession receiver, a guy who just grabs it and you know he's going to come down with it. You know he's super solid. You know he's going to be open a lot of the times. The A'Shawn Robinson thing is cool. Playing next to Derek Brown, who's a phenomenal player. He's just one of those guys who just kind of he's a space eater, which I think is something that they also need. They need everything, obviously. So I'm going to give him a B, and it's a B because of the situation that they are in. Again, a little bit contradicting because I'm not a big fan of giving Robert Hunt a ton of money when the biggest thing that Robert Hunt is known for is catching that random errant ball and trying to dive into the end zone and ended up literally almost upside down. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Where he was upside down? So I'm not the biggest fan of giving some of these guys this much money, but again, you got to give Bryce something, man. You got to. You have to. So again, a B. If you're looking at the draft now for the Carolina Panthers, they obviously don't have a first round pick. So when you're looking at the second round picks that they own now, they are slated two things: wide receiver and corner. They have Adam Thielen. They have Deontay Johnson. Is that moving anything for you to actually refrain away from drafting a wide receiver, or you want to go forward to get maybe an edge rusher early? Some of those edge rushers in that early second are really good. If Chop is sitting there at the top of the second, I think you need to go after it. Obviously, we were just texting about Chop today, and I'm all in on Chop right now.
That was where he was mocked to a ton before the combine, and now he's a bit higher than that. But
right,
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of paying $20 million for a guard. I feel like, not to call you out, I feel like your expectations for the Panthers in this free agency were so low that you're kind of like, oh wow, they actually were able to pull something off. So I think that might be reflecting your grade a little bit. Again, $20 million for a guard, that just seems like it has cap casualty written all over it in a couple of years. But what do I know? I'm not in a front office for an NFL team yet. But yeah, the Carolina Panthers, they didn't have much, and they were able to make something happen. So for that, I give them, like I said, I like the wide receiver trade. You didn't lose Brian Burns for nothing. So it's at least the problem, the true problem I have with the Carolina Panthers is the owner. Tepper is he's like an impatient toddler with his team. Yep. He paid cash for the Carolina Panthers, and I think he's waiting for it to pay off. And it's just well, you picked the wrong quarterback
to work with.
You picked the wrong quarterback, clearly. Even if Bryce Young works out, you picked the wrong quarterback.
Yeah.
And everything is just so limited. So, but I got to tell you, I agree with Luke Combs. Brian Burns going for anything less than a first round pick is a tough pill to swallow. So
it definitely is. And we talked about it, I think, last week, right? Maybe it was the week before, where Brian Burns last year, there was reports that the Rams were prepared to offer them 2 first round picks for Brian Burns. 2 of them last year. And they said no. And now they're having to, hand them off for the equivalent of, a bag of Cheetos. 2 first round picks for a turnaround, and you get a second and a fifth is not equivalent. That's not good, right? 2 first round picks changes everything for you. You have a first round pick if you take that. I don't know, man. It's definitely confusing to say the least. But again, and you might be right. it might be the expectation thing. But I like the signings. I especially with who you got, at quarterback. You gotta beef up that line. Now looking at the Chicago Bears, you took the last one first, so I guess I'll take this one. Unfortunately, we're barred from talking about Chicago for more than 5 minutes on the podcast, so get your timers out. I'm giving this one a C. I'm not sure what Ryan Poles is doing, if I'm being honest. Re-sign Jalen Johnson. Fantastic. Yeah. You should re-sign the best player on your defense. Absolutely, especially when he's only, 24 years old. Running back position is a luxury. Why are you paying DeAndre? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And he's the first running back. He's the first player to be reported for the free agent tampering period. As soon as 9 o'clock hit, bro. Bam. Popped up on my feed. I just don't get it. I do like the Gerald Everett signing, actually quite a bit. It's a productive player for $6 million a year. You have a good tandem there. Kind of throws the Brock Bowers things out the window a little bit because I was kind of playing around with that scenario a little bit in my head. And then the Ryan Bates trade for a fifth. You need offensive line help. I think he's more going to be a rotational guy anyways. But then the Kevin Byard thing, 2 years, 7.5, a guy who did not play well last year for Philly at all. And he got traded for a reason to Philly for a low round pick. He's not Kevin Byard from a couple of years ago. I'm just not a fan of this. This is a C. If you get rid of the DeAndre Swift thing, you can maybe sway me to a C+ or B-. But the DeAndre Swift thing, again, running back is a luxury, and the Kevin Byard contract is not good to me. I do not like it.
Yeah, this is a D+ to me because that defense is already good. The Kevin Byard thing, it makes absolute zero sense to me. And
yeah,
especially if you consider safety a need, there is a ton of safety help out there right now. Every team in the NFL cut a safety, it feels like. They're all just like, cut that safety. You get a safety. You get a safety. Like, the NFL is the Oprah Winfrey of safeties right now, and you picked him? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. And then it's the same thing. It's like, okay, Derrick Henry, okay, Saquon Barkley, okay, Josh Jacobs, okay. And then it's like, DeAndre Swift, come on down. The dude had one good season. And all of his production was front loaded to the beginning of the season before he wore down later in the year. Yep, it's just like Gerald Everett. I like it. And you didn't have to overpay Jalen Johnson to keep him. You got Jalen Johnson, a player that you were considering trading at the deadline last year. You signed him to a really good contract, one that should be fairly easy for him to play up to.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm looking a little out of my side eye on that one, just because I hate the Kevin Byard thing, and the DeAndre Swift stuff, like that contract, the money, grading the money, which I said I wasn't going to do, Captain Contradictory here, doesn't seem bad. Like, it seems like $7-8 million for a running back that rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Okay, I'm in. But on day one, minute one, second one, you got what if they had just waited and they swooped in and picked up Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Hello, DeAndre Swift was your answer. That's what you guys thought. Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift. That's what we're supposed to be worried about. That just, I would like that. I would like that pick a little bit more if they'd signed a big body bruiser guy. Like, if it had been,
they have Roschon Johnson,
and I
like Roschon.
But if it had been 7 or 8 days into free agency and they picked up DeAndre Swift and AJ Dillon and they came out and they're like, we're keeping Justin Fields, and it's like, oh, I see what you're doing here. You got Justin Fields' mobility, you got AJ Dillon who's a bruiser, you got DeAndre Swift. That makes sense. But you're going to roll into the season with DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams. That to me is just, it's weird. Like, again, the timing of it. I'm failing you on the timing of it. Like, we're sitting there. Oh, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. DeAndre Swift. And I'm like, what the but why? Excuse me. Can I ask a question, please? Chicago, what the hell are you? And the thing is listen, guess who's still on the Chicago Bears roster?
The guy who has no trade value.
And spoiler alert for all you Chicagoans, it's not because they're thinking of keeping him. It's because nobody wants him. They're talking about traded to him for a backup. They're talking about him being traded as a backup. And listen, we're going to go live on this podcast, and I'm going to wear my Trey Lance jersey, and I'm going to talk so much shit to the Dallas Cowboys fans that Jerry Jones traded a 4th round pick for Trey Lance when Mac Jones and Justin Fields got traded for less, because that's what's going to happen. That's what's coming down the pipe when Justin Fields goes for like 2/5 and Mac Jones went for a bag of Cheetos and Trey Lance went for a fourth, and I'm going to laugh. So
half a bag of
Cheetos, exactly.
You know, get more.
I just Chicago, what are you doing? What are we doing? You know, it's a big draft for you. That defense rocks. There's a lot of good safety help out there. Kevin Byard, he's like 47. You know, I just Derrick Henry was out there. Aaron Jones is out there. There's a lot of talent out there, and y'all were like, oh yeah, bring me down DeAndre Swift. I just don't.
Stacked free agent period, and the guy that is immediately at the top of your call list is DeAndre Swift is definitely a little bit wild. When speaking about the draft, obviously we don't have to talk about the first pick, but they do have the 9th pick, which they are currently slated for a wide receiver. Now, obviously, they didn't address barely anything offensively outside of Gerald Everett and DeAndre Swift, which isn't going to make any difference regardless to draft anybody. Right now, the most popular spot is Rome to go there. Honestly, with the whispers right now, they might have to trade up to go get Rome at that. Like, Rome might not fall at 9. If Rome doesn't fall at 9, there's no Malik Neighbors, no Rome, no Marvin Harrison Jr. Do you reach on Brian Thomas because you believe in the ability? You don't draft defense. You could go offensive line, I guess. Who's sitting there? Troy Fautanu, Talisi Fuaga. I guess that's where you're going. You don't really have a choice, but then you're at that point where you go, I don't really have a choice. I needed offensive firepower, and I got duds. I had to go get my trench guys. Cool. You need a little bit of help on that offensive line, but you also need some other help on the other side of DJ Moore, because Darnell Mooney is gone, and there's who else is there? I can't even think about who wide receiver 2 is now for them. So,
well, they got a bunch of free agents. I mean, they could bring back Amon-Ra's little brother, or they could bring back not Darnell Mooney, but there's another one. Who's the tackle? Fashanu?
Yeah.
If they went there at 9, I wouldn't honestly hate that. But if Rome is gone, if Neighbors are gone at number 9, I think it's a trade back.
I think it's a good opportunity.
Or maybe, I mean, they got a little bit of money. Maybe you call up the Bengals and see if you can do, your pick for T. Higgins and the Bengals pick or something like that. I mean, bringing in Caleb Williams and having him DJ Moore and T. Higgins that's. But again, I'm excited for Chicago. You cut Eddie Jackson and bring in Byard. I don't understand it. And I know safeties play different positions. They're not all interchangeable, but that doesn't make any sense.
Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go ahead and let you take this one. I took the last one first. What are we giving them?
I don't like anything they've done, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't like. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you want me to grade this on them that they are still going to move T. Higgins, or they're keeping T. Higgins?
That's up to you. This is your grade. Go ahead.
I don't like it. I got to tell you, I don't like it. I think that they should have tagged T. Higgins. Everybody that pretty much got tagged has either signed their contract. You know what I'm saying? So many teams use the franchise tag to negotiate the contract, and they signed it. T. Higgins is just still sitting there. He's requested a trade. He said he's not playing on the tag. What are we doing? And then you trade away Joe Mixon and sign Zach Moss. Well, but why? Is he's a problem? I guess maybe he's a cancer. I get it, but the dude rushes.
He's been like a cut or trade candidate for 2 years in a row now.
But then to bring in Zach Moss, I know he did okay. He did okay with,
he had 850 rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, he had a year. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So did Gardner Minshew. It's just Shane Steichen, who's an offensive coordinator, and then you're just we're going to cut Mixon. A couple years back when they had Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard, and they had Boyd and Higgins and Jamar Chase, and they were firing on all cylinders. And now it's all right, Higgins is unhappy. All right, Joe Mixon is gone. I'm not.
Offensive line is still in shambles.
I'm not a big fan. Geno Stone.
Geno Stone's is a dope pick.
They it's just okay. I give it a C+ because T. Higgins didn't walk. You want to retain the talent, obviously. Whether you're going to extend it or trade him, you don't want to just watch him walk away. So C+ for me.
And we're not that far off. I'm at a B-. Operating under the same thing, T. Higgins did not walk away. I really like the Geno Stone thing. I really do. $7.5 million. That's the same money that Kevin Byard did. And he's a much better safety, and he's much younger. Zach Moss, only $4 million a year. I like the signing too. I don't know about being a full-time starter. Running back by committee is probably where they're going, and you address probably one of the biggest issues on your team, which is tight end. You didn't have any tight ends on the roster. I think Mike Gesicki can still be a good talent. I'm not going to knock anybody for going to the Patriots and not being successful in the last couple of years, because nobody was successful. You had a garbage can throwing him the football. So Joe Burrow is 100% an upgrade for Mike Gesicki to catch balls from. The Drew Sample signing, another pretty good signing as well. Again, you're just kind of bolstering up that tight end room a little bit. And then you bring in Cody Ford, who's an okay guard. He's fine. I don't think it's too much of an upgrade or anything, but he's fine. When talking about the draft, looking at a consensus draft, an offensive tackle, it's J.C. Latham is the consensus pick. So tackle guard is the consensus right now. Nothing that they've done has changed that. It's probably going to be there. We've already talked about if a guy like Brock Bowers falls, Mike Gesicki and Drew Sample does not change my pick. I'm going Brock Bowers if he's sitting there at, what is it, 18. I'm not changing that. I'm going Brock. But if he's gone, offensive tackles are sitting there. I think that's where you go. Cleveland Browns, I'll go ahead and take this one. Oh man, this is funny because they haven't done a lot, but I really like their picks that their signings, and I like the money that it's coming from too, especially addressing the issues.
Oh, I'm locked in on this grade.
I have the Cleveland Browns as an A-.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I really like bringing in Jameis Winston. I really like the Zadarius Smith contract.
Yes, sir.
It's really good. Jordan Hicks, another good contract for a good player, coming in and addressing another issue. In a weak linebacker draft class, you bring in one of the best free agent linebackers out there. I really like it. You haven't done a lot, but you've addressed what you can with the limited amount of cap space you did. Bringing back one of your star players who's played well for you, you've traded for. You can't really ask for much more for the Cleveland Browns.
I love it. A- all the way. The 2020 podcast is officially a Cleveland Browns stan podcast. Like, I love the Zadarius Smith signing. Like, just add talent to a great defense. Let's do that. And then for Mitchell Trubisky at $5 million and Sam Darnold at $10 million, and you go out and get Jameis Winston for $4 million, spoiler alert, is Jameis Winston better than Watson? You know what I mean? Is it that crazy to like?
I don't think so.
You know, and then the only thing I think that players that, do you even know what the Chicago Bears are thinking? Do you even watch ball, bro? Like, everybody was so hyped over the Jerry Jeudy thing. Like, Jerry Jeudy is not that good of a wide receiver. Like, y'all traded for Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick. Now, you guys fleeced the team you traded with to get that done. Because then they turned around
that other team.
Yeah, they turned around and signed some mediocre guy coming off an ACL injury for the $3 million less than Amari was making. But the Jerry Jeudy thing doesn't move the needle for me. Okay, he's a number 2 or number 3 over there. Maybe he'll do better. He's never had 1,000 yards. He's had 4 touchdowns was his best season, and he wants to fight Steve Smith on the sidelines. All that's really weird to me. But kudos to them using their late round picks to beef up an offensive roster that needs all the talent it can get. Big question mark on Nick Chubb, obviously. What's going on there? If he's coming back healthy or not, we'll see. That was a gruesome injury, but for what they had, and this is the first real team that everything they did, I was like, oh wow, that was really good. Well, the Baltimore Ravens also, but division rivals. Oh wow, that was really good. Oh wow, that was really good. I liked everything the Cleveland Browns did. So that's a surefire A- to me. And I didn't write all my grades down. I just kind of took some notes down. So I don't know, the winners of the free agency period so far, but the Browns have to be up there. I love Zadarius Smith, and
100%.
It just everything they did made sense. This isn't Kevin Byard, and this isn't some of the other things that we've really had to question. All of this made sense for them. So kudos.
Yep. Absolutely. And then when you take a peek at the draft too,
I'm first on the next one, right?
Yeah, fuck off, yeah. When you look at the draft and you look at the picks that they have, they only start at 54 right now. That's the highest they pick. So they're slated a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, and I think they could still go that route. I don't think that's really an issue. You got another weapon on offense in Jerry Jeudy. I don't think that's an issue either. Beef up the defensive line a little bit. Specifically, it looks like the consensus is Chris Jenkins, which I wouldn't be mad about if I was a Browns fan. You want to go ahead and take the next one? Dallas Cowboys.
It's actually not as bad as you're probably going to grade them. I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I'm not going to live in the world where we have to do something. I'm not going to live in the world where our owner said we're going to go big. I don't live in any of those worlds. You have a draft pick where you're going to fill a position of need. Your tackle that's a free agent hasn't signed anywhere, so it's not a for certainty that he may or may not be back. Stephon Gilmore hasn't signed anywhere, so it's not a for sure that he may or may not be back. The safeties, have your safeties signed? You know, these guys might all be in talks with the Cowboys. So until you've lost them, it's not a loss. You haven't lost these players yet. You know, you have Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. You may not even need Stephon Gilmore. Obviously, Diggs coming off an injury. The one thing that I will say is there's a little small question mark on the running back position. I'm not exactly sure what your guys' plans are for that. I don't think you have a suitable every down back on the roster right now, but obviously
No.
I don't think you want to start a 4th or 5th round pick. You know, we talked about Derrick Henry.
AJ Dillon right now is the biggest name that we're being linked to.
I don't know why you wouldn't just bring in his running mate, you know, at that point. But for me, so the Cowboys, I'm giving a D+ to, just because
his running mate went to the Vikings.
Did Aaron Jones sign with the Vikings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shoot. Okay, fair enough. We haven't gotten that far down. I must have missed that, just like I missed the Joe Mixon trade. A lot of stuff going on, guys. I got a full-time job. I can't keep up on all of it. So that's why we do this. So AJ Dillon, that's not great for your number one running back. But listen, what have the Kansas City Chiefs done this offseason? What have the Dallas Cowboys done this offseason? What have the San Francisco 49ers done this offseason? These teams that are expected to be vying for the Super Bowl next year, they don't have huge holes that they fix. And yeah, in a perfect world, I wanted us to go get Danielle Hunter, and you think your team is flawed. But you know what are the Super Bowl odds right now? I guarantee the stupid freaking Cowboys are really high up there. It's just one of those things. And yeah, you wanted Derrick Henry, and yeah, you wanted this and that, but it's just you haven't done anything stupid. And I guess there's a small sense of, you know, D+ ain't good, don't get me wrong, but you know, if Jerry hadn't come out and flapped his lips about how you guys were going big this year, would you be all that disappointed right now? Is there anything you really, really wanted that was within reason? Like signing a 32-year-old running back in Derrick Henry, you know, now you look at the contract he got and it's like, wow, you probably could have made that happen. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You're disappointed, obviously.
Yeah, do you know what F stands for?
Failure.
It stands for fuck you, Jerry Jones. That's what it fucking stands for. You mentioned him talking on the goddamn radio show, and it's just we're going all in.
Yeah, we're going to go all in this year. We're going to do it big. We're going to do everything we can.
Shut the fuck up, man.
I love Texas, and I love Dallas Cowboys football.
See, the thing is the Kansas City Chiefs haven't done much, but what have they done? They've brought in the free agents they need to bring back.
And won Super Bowls.
And they win Super Bowls. So it's like nobody questions them. It's like, yeah, it's like nobody questions them. It's like I can go ahead and take a look at their free agent period and go, it's probably like a C-ish. But it's like, do I really want to question anything the Kansas City Chiefs are doing? Clearly, it's fucking working. So who gives a shit? But when it comes to the Cowboys, nothing's working. We're stuck in the wild card in the division and we can't get out of it. Once again, I'm 25 years old. I'm going to be 26 in less than a month. And I've never seen my team pass the divisional. 2014, the Dez no catch bullshit was the closest that we got.
I love hearing you talk about this.
It's just dumb. It's dumb. It's an F. It's a long
Sacramento
snapper,
Kings
bro.
fan.
It's just stupid. I'm over it. I'm
I actually
over
saw
it so
you
much.
guys have another signing, Carl Davis Jr. So you actually had two.
When did that happen?
I don't know, but it's on the list.
I'm over it.
I saw a big old breaking on my screen. Breaking news. And I'm like, all right, not now baseball. It's football time.
I'm just over it. There's not much to talk about. It's an F. It's just you don't do anything. It's fucking stupid. That's what it stands for.
Let me ask you a question, though. If you bring back Tyron Smith, at a decent little deal, and you bring back Stephon Gilmore at a decent little deal. What else? Like you're not upgrading, the wide receiver spot. We talked about Michael Gallup as a cut casualty, but there's really no one you could have replaced him with, free agency wise. The running back thing is a question.
Drew, you don't understand. This
But
team is
Zeke's a
falling
free
apart.
agent.
No, this team's falling apart. Dak has a goatee now, and it looks horrible. All right, this team is done.
Okay.
It's cooked.
Is it safe to say that Jerry Jones should sell the Cowboys?
It's him and it's his son. His son needs to have no stake in this goddamn team. My kids are going to have to watch his kids to run the team, and it's still going to be bad.
Yeah, I don't think you should bring your kids into. I don't think you should raise them as Dallas Cowboys fans.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Stick to raising them with a winning franchise like the Boston Celtics, and make them basketball fans.
Oh, I got to give them something bad. Listen, I'm great. I get it, but I can't give them everything great. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to go with sprinkling torture. Okay. You have to endure what I endure. Like our parents are like, oh, I had to walk through this to go to school. I had to be a Cowboys fan my whole life. Here, you have to do the same thing. Okay, this is your punishment.
And that shit is so funny to me because your dad is constantly beating his chest about, we're the number one franchise in the world. We have the most fans in the world. I was like, I don't know why y'all haven't done nothing in 25 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a statistic the other day. My favorite basketball team hasn't beat the Milwaukee Bucks since I was 8 years old. You know what I mean? Or something stupid like that. I'm like, that's freaking wild. They haven't beat the Milwaukee Bucks since 2014. How's that even possible? They play them every year. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, that's what it must be like to be a Cowboys fan. The Cowboys fans haven't made it to the divisional. It was 1994, right?
The last time we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was
last
3.
time we were in the conference. Yeah. So I'm over it. Denver Broncos.
Moving on.
I'm going to go ahead and take the Denver Broncos. Shout out to Jeff, but I'm sorry. This is a D-. I don't know what we're doing here.
Ooh.
I get if you don't do anything, but you go after a guy like Brandon Jones, a safety who's just really not that great of a safety. The Malcolm Roach signing is fine. It's okay. I'm not mad at it, but it's fine. Then you re-sign Lil Jordan Humphrey, Will Lutz. It's just your special teams guys. Cool. I guess. That's awesome. I'm not all that impressed. And again, the Brandon Jones thing, I'm not a fan of the contract. And I'm just not a fan of him. So again, D-. I think it could even be worse.
Yeah, see, I disagree. They needed to reset their franchise. They needed to make a decision on what they were going to do with Russell Wilson. And they made the decision, and they ate the largest cap cut hit in the history of the NFL. So it was important that they chose a direction for their franchise. Now they're rudderless. They have no quarterback. They had to cut a bunch of people. They traded away a wide receiver. And this is a team that decided that they needed to start over fresh. They needed to wipe the slate completely clean. And you don't need to be signing high-profile free agents when you're in that position. So kudos to them. Getting rid of Jerry Jeudy obviously wasn't in the long-term plans. You move on from Russell Wilson. So it's a D just because your team sucked last year. Now it's going to suck again. But it would have been really stupid for them to go sign a Derrick Henry or go sign this team doesn't need to go sign Danielle Hunter. There's just no reason for it.
No, for sure. But if you bring in a guy if you bring in better role players at decent contracts, I'm okay with it. I'm not.
Yeah, but do you want to win?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Do they want to win? I mean, you're going to compete with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders in that division next year? I don't think so. So, God, Sean Payton, man, he should have waited 1 year. He would have had Justin Herbert. Stupid.
When you look at the draft, their consensus pick is a corner. Do they still go corner here? I mean, obviously with the Russell Wilson thing. Are they going to move up? Does Sean Payton feel like a guy to move up in the draft? Because I don't know. I don't know if he is a guy to move up, really. Do they go corner and sit, or do they just wait for a quarterback to fall and maybe they go with a Bo Nix or Michael Penix in the second?
Don't you?
Yeah, but if JJ's not there or someone else, are you reaching on someone else? Or are you going in the second? Or what are we doing?
I mean, it just depends. I do think if they can hop to 9, if they can hop to 8 from 12 and take JJ McCarthy, Sean Payton is going to identify who the best quarterback in that class is, and he's going to take him. Like
He loves JJ.
I guarantee you that he's going to identify the best quarterback in that class, and he's going to try to take him. And if not, you sit there and you take Jared Verse, and then you go Michael. You just do what you can. Obviously, they got to take a quarterback, and there's literally no reason to roll Jarrett Stidham out there for 16 games next year.
Unless, do you even want to win?
Well, I mean, there's tanking to get picks, and then there's just like, all right, well, let's just put our kicker in there at running back. Let's go sign Taysom Hill and let him play quarterback. I mean, we tried that before,
right?
Sean Payton. I mean, that's the thing though, is like Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent, Jameis Winston was a free agent, Sam Darnold was a free agent. Those are all quality. If you were trying to build something next year, they haven't done any of that. So that makes, I think it's very clear they're taking a quarterback.
Yeah. Detroit Lions. Do you want to go ahead and take this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Detroit Lions did absolutely nothing except for a bunch of re-signs. So, C- to me. They didn't improve their team in any way, I don't think. Now, they don't think they're going back to the playoffs, so why improve? But they're
tanking.
I'm sure you'll break it. Yeah, I'm sure you'll break it down a little bit more. They got a weird draft position. We talked about last week how Brian Thomas goes in your Chop Robinson or Newton or something like that right there at the pick.
Yeah.
But I think what the Lions have to focus on is what they're doing. They have an Amon-Ra extension they need to get done. Besides that, I mean, the team's young and they got talent. And I think they could have upgraded, but at the expense of big money and free agency, maybe they just felt good with what they had. So they, re-signed some of their guys and made a couple low-key signings, and that's all you need to do.
I'm going to give them a C+ because it was a lot of re-signings. Graham Glasgow, bringing him back, and then you re-signed Emmanuel Mosley, who didn't play well last year, but
you're
hoping that he can. You also traded for Carlton Davis.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Carlton Davis. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm super comfortable with that. And then Marcus Davenport is there too. So I think they address a couple of issues that are pretty significant.
And I think that frees them up to not have to take corner with their pick. Which is trading for Carlton Davis, you fill a need there.
That's the consensus pick right now is corner. So with you trading for Carlton Davis, what do? Do you want to take a shot at a receiver? Again, there's a lot of good wide receivers at the end. Marcus Davenport doesn't prevent me from drafting a young edge rusher, depending on who's there at the end. Their offensive line is good. The running back's good. You could take another wide receiver. Defensive line's pretty solid as well. They need some linebacker help, but
Cardinals signed Jonah Williams.
Oh, did they really?
Yep.
So the Cardinals did? Oh, they cut Humphreys and then they signed him, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Humphreys isn't even ready for the start of the season because he tore his ACL. So you got rid of a player making a lot of money that wasn't going to play, and you signed I'm a big fan of Jonah Williams. I know you're kind of poo-pooing him, but
yeah. So again, back to the drafted edge rusher. I think is a pretty good option there late in that round, or wide receiver. I think it's fine too. You good?
Yeah, I was thinking I gotta go check this thing. So I was thinking you might want to tell them about our sponsor that we don't have yet.
Well, I'll take the Green Bay Packers. I'll go ahead and take the Green Bay Packers first while Drew does what he does. The Green Bay Packers signed Xavier McKinney, Keyshawn Nixon. They brought in Josh Jacobs was obviously the one that kind of broke everybody a little bit. Everybody thought for a very short amount of time that him and Aaron Jones were going to tear up the league. But then Aaron Jones got cut, which didn't surprise me. If you guys follow NFL Preem, dude, I've shouted out the dude so many times. Instagram, NFL Preem, like Supreme, Preem on Instagram, dude, super dope. Gets out a bunch of stuff. Weeks ago, beginning March 1st, he called out Aaron Jones will most likely get cut if he does not want to restructure his contract. Josh Jacobs comes in, Aaron Jones gets cut. It's a great move. Now, I'm going to give the Packers a B-, and I'm probably going to have to re-say that for Drew. You address the safety position in Xavier McKinney after losing Darnell Savage, so big upgrade there. And then the Josh Jacobs things is okay. I think he's a better running back than Aaron Jones, but Packers B composes himself.
Joe Flacco signed a contract.
Where did he go?
The Colts.
Oh, that makes sense.
He got $9 million.
Good for him. Gardner Minshew out. Joe Flacco in.
Clear upgrade.
Green Bay Packers.
What did I miss? We did the Green Bay Packers.
B-. Xavier McKinney. Josh Jacobs are the big one. Cutting Aaron Jones.
I mean, I love Josh Jacobs, obviously. Bakhtiari, right?
Oh, yeah. And then, cutting back the art too.
That saves a bunch of money on a guy that's hasn't played enough. I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs. I'm also a big fan of Aaron Jones. I'm not 100% sure, except for getting a little younger, how much that does. They let Devondre Campbell go. Xavier McKinney.
That's a big upgrade. You need help at the safety position.
My thing about that, though, is like my team is really good year in and year out, and they don't invest anything in the safety position. So I'm kind of a believer that it's not. I'm kind of a believer that they're not like super important. And, 4 years, $70 million at the safety position just seems like a lot. This isn't, we're not talking about Antoine Winfield here. But besides that, I mean, I'm going to go, what'd you give them? I go with a B- for the Packers.
Yeah, I gave them the same thing.
Their defense sucked, and they upgraded the safety position. Cool. Josh Jacobs is a beast, kind of Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon combined type player. That's really awesome.
Sure.
And they got talent all over the place on the offensive side. So I think they did what they could.
If you look at the draft, the consensus pick is a corner, specifically a corner/safety hybrid, and Cooper DeJean. Does any of these signings that the Packers have done, whether it's re-signing any of their guys, Corey Ballantyne, Keyshawn Nixon is more of a special teams guy. The safety, Xavier McKinney, did any of those guys move the needle on going away from the corner? Or are you still locked in? That's where you want to go.
I would love for them to see. I think they would love to get Kool-Aid here. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean, I've kind of had some thoughts on him. I'll wait on a little bit more of that towards draft time as
we come out with our top fives.
I just think no, I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, corner. Nothing changes. Nothing changes for me on the Green Bay Packers. They definitely need to take a corner.
Houston Texans, dude, take it away,
dude. I think they got the most transactions, right?
Between them and who else had a lot? The Patriots had a lot too.
2 years, $30 million for Jonah Williams.
Not bad.
Okay, so they re-signed Dalton Schultz.
Yep.
That's cool. They re-signed Desmond King. Okay. Jeff Okudah, I'm a fan. Noah Brown. Okay. Big fan of Azeez Al-Shire.
Hell yeah.
I really, really like Joe Mixon.
Danico Autry.
There's
Danielle
Hunter. Come on. I mean, honestly, I'm Texans. I love the Texans. If I had to pick a second team, I'd pick the Texans because I love D'Amico. I love CJ Stroud. So I love that they upgraded all over the place. They splashed. Not resting on your laurels, not resting on what happened last year and thinking, oh, wow, we overachieved. This was amazing. Let's run it back. No, fuck that. Let's go, baby. Let's go. I love that. For me, for the Danielle Hunter signing and bringing back a Dalton Schultz and what they did. And honestly, it kind of sucks for them. I think they would have liked to get a better than a 2-year deal out of Danielle Hunter, but obviously he's smart. Yeah. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, give me a 2-year and I'll get another one. This is an A- for me. Giving the Texans an A- kind of makes me feel a little like about the Browns and the Ravens. Because I'm a little more impressed with what the Ravens and the Browns did than this. This was a lot. And I think when you make a bunch of transactions like this, you have more chance for it to not go as well. But the Texans are a super young team. They didn't make any moves that weren't smart, and everything they did makes sense. I'm not questioning why would you do this? Why would you do that?
This is my highest grade.
Okay.
I have an A+ on them. Don't forget about the Joe Mixon thing. Joe Mixon coming in, Dalton Schultz on a really good contract, exactly where he should be. Azeez Al-Shire, great contract, good player. Danico Autry.
Oh, Danico Autry. Yeah. That's right.
Good rotational rushing player. I really like that. Again, along with Danielle Hunter, we're talking about Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry rotating around. After you lose Grenard, you upgrade with Danielle Hunter, and you get another rotational guy. and you're bringing in corner help with Jeff Okuda,
And they
re-signing
signed their
Desmond King.
punter.
Yeah. So it just they signed their kickers, right, too. So this is an A+. I like all the signings that they did, honestly. I think everything was really smart and exactly what they needed to do. When it comes to the draft, they're slated a interior defensive lineman, and I still think they can go there. I don't think that sways it. Right now, they're slated Johnny Newton, Jerzon Newton. I still think they can go in that direction. They can go in that area. I don't think that changes anything for me, unless it does for you.
I mean, I've had.
Oh, and they re-signed Noah Brown too. It's not on this list, but I'm pretty sure they re-signed Noah Brown.
They did. I have Byron Murphy for them here. I know you have him going higher than that. So, I mean, I love everything the Texans are doing. I really think they're positioning themselves to be, with a team like the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, falling off. And hell, the more teams that get better in the AFC to try to stop the Chiefs from getting to the Super Bowl, I'm all for it. So the Bengals should bounce back next year. This was, it's only 2 days in. We're not done here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the Texans won the draft last year. So far, they're winning free agency. It's incredible what they're doing over there. So glad to see it. A franchise that's kind of been like the armpit or the butthole of the NFL since its inception.
Two different things.
It was a good move for them. I'm excited for the Houston Texans.
Now moving on to a couple of division rivals, the Indy Colts. I got a B on their grade. They've only really re-signed their guys. Michael Pittman, they got a long-term deal. Grover Stewart, Zaire Franklin, the tackle leader for last year. Kenny Moore. They really only brought back guys, but the contracts are really good. And you brought back the important players. Michael Pittman, Grover Stewart. All these guys are really important to the core of their team. And they're clearly saying, we think we could be a lot better than we were last year if our quarterback didn't run around like he thinks he's prime Cam Newton and never gets injured. If he could just protect himself, we might have a shot to actually make it. That's what they're telling us right now. We're doing this. We're going to build in the draft. We think we have a shot. And I'm not going to say that they don't. It all comes down to that arm of Anthony Richardson and what he can do. So I'm going to give him a B for bringing back all the important players.
Yeah, I think they, I think any team in the league would take Kenny Moore in 3 year, $30 million. That's a great signing. That's great money. Yep. Michael Pittman, 3 for $70. I don't hate that at all either. I mean, he's the threat that Anthony Richardson needs, and so I think they did a good job extending him at that number, tagging him first, so they can continue to negotiate a lot of smart stuff out of that franchise. A really good head coach over there that can make all that stuff work. So,
when you look,
breaking 49ers news.
Oh, great!
Kevin Givens returning on a 1-year deal. Wow. I got to tell you, that just altered my entire grade for the 49ers, so I'm excited to get there. Big change for me.
Okay. When you look at the Calvin Ridley is rumored to have turned down an offer with the Jaguars that was $10 million less than what the Titans were offering. They have $10 million away. That's crazy.
Well, and a pick.
Yeah, and a pick. When you look at the draft, the Colts are the consensus to get a certain tight end at number 15, and none of this changes it. Dude, honestly, I haven't really played around with the idea a lot in my mind, but Brock Bowers to the Colts as the consensus is actually kind of crazy, giving Anthony Richardson that type of player. Because what people don't understand is Brock Bowers isn't just a tight end. We're talking about a guy who you're splitting out wide. You're putting him in screens that he can just. I'm not talking about Jake Ferguson, who's going to take a screen from 1 yard to 6. We're talking about a guy who could take it from 1 yard to 20 to 25. We're talking about a real athlete here. Maybe he doesn't look like an athlete. He looks like an engineering student from Texas Tech, but he's an athlete, man. He's a real athlete. So I don't think this goes away from it. You could go tight end and feel pretty comfortable, unless there's somewhere else you want to go with that.
If Latu falls, I think that's a good fit for them.
What about Jared Verse?
Yeah. I mean, either of those guys really. If Brock falls out of the top 10, it's going to be like there's like 7 teams in a row that are a good fit for him. So,
yeah.
Especially when you're talking about a player that could potentially be the second pass catcher on your team. You know what I mean? It's just, Bowers he's just one of those talents. I mean, he's not, don't get me wrong, he's not Rob Gronkowski, but
Yeah.
he's, you know, and
He's
of
the
course,
exact, if you want to look at the measurables, he's the exact, like if you want to look at like a body type for the NFL, he has the exact measurables, time, and all that stuff from Sam Laporta.
yeah, and that's the thing. I don't want to mention Sam Laporta because if he doesn't come out and have Sam Laporta's season, people are like, "Oh, what was the hype on this guy?" Sam Laporta had an incredible season. Full stop. Like, let's just move on from that. Like, it doesn't happen every year, so it just is what it is. It was. I'm super impressed with Bowers. So
The Jacksonville Jaguars, take it away.
well, apparently they were only $10 million out on Calvin Ridley, but it would have cost them a second pick. So,
I'm good on that. I'm glad they didn't sign him then.
well, I mean, you keep your second round pick and you sign Gabe Davis, 3 years, 40.
I like the contract.
3 years, 40 million. I think that Josh Allen's still on the franchise tag. They haven't done anything with that yet, right?
As far as I've seen, yeah, he's still on the franchise.
So in theory, you've locked that up for now. You shored up your backup quarterback position with a trash can. So
that's your franchise quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a reaction.
I'm super hyped to talk about Justin Fields. I'm so over Mac Jones. You can blame your dad for that. trying to argue with him about a dot and all these other just. I remember when he told me, like, I said one of my problems with Jimmy is Jimmy can't make all the throws. And he's like, he's an NFL quarterback. He can make all the throws. Every quarterback in the NFL can make all the throws. And I'm just like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to argue this. Darnell Savage on a 3-year deal, I'm kind of about. Obviously, the Packers felt suit to upgrade in that position in a big way. I like the Ronald Darby contract. Anytime you can bring in corner help on the cheap is super nice because corners are one of those positions that it just seems year after year.
I don't even have Darby on here. Why? I didn't know that.
Injuries continue to go. Wow, look at me doing my research. Mitch Morse at center, you know what I mean? 5 years, 5 million for your center for a couple of years. The Jaguars are an interesting team to me because is he going to step up and is Trevor Lawrence going to step up and be a franchise superstar, or was he, is he trending towards a bust as a first round pick? You know what I mean? Like there's 2 huge seasons for Kyler Murray and, Trevor Lawrence here to kind of see if they can reestablish themselves on what they were supposed to be. As far as the draft grade goes, as the free agency grade goes, keeping Josh Allen and replacing Calvin Ridley with a wide receiver is probably just as good at a lot less money. I'm going to go on a B- on this one.
That's exactly where I'm at right now too.
Devin
and honestly,
Duvernay.
Dude, they brought in Mitch Morse too. Their center, Luke Fortner, was awful last year, dude. He was so bad, and you bring in Mitch. That's a huge up, dude. That shifts for me. I think I had Jackson Powers Johnson going here, and I've seen it a lot. He's not the consensus. A corner is actually the consensus for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I've had Jackson Powers Johnson go here, and I've seen it a couple times as well. That takes it away. You don't need to throw it out the window. You're fine. You bring in Ezra Cleveland as well. You bring in guard help, center help. The Darnell Savage thing's a little.
Oh, here
iffy.
I got one for you.
Okay.
Another change of heart. After agreeing to a deal with the 49ers, former Chargers and Vikings linebacker Eric Kendricks has decided to go to the Dallas Cowboys instead, per sources.
You're lying.
So there you guys go. You're on the board.
All right, we're at an F. No, I like the signing. I'm gonna wait to see it.
You know what kind of sucks is I really like that.
Right now.
The Eric Kendricks signing was big for me because the 49ers were terrible from the linebacker position last year in run stopping. Like they were like a bottom 3 team, and Eric Kendricks is amazing at stopping the run. It's kind of surprising that he's walking away from us and going to Mike Zimmer because we have Brandon Staley on staff, but money's king of everything, and the Dallas Cowboys haven't spent any, so maybe they stole away.
They want to go to a winner, so there's that too.
Well, everyone should just sign with Kansas City then.
Again, Jacksonville B-. With the draft, the consensus is corner, and nothing they've done is going to change that for me. I think they should probably still go corner in this area. Whoever's here, obviously there's a risk on Nate Wiggins, and that's a consensus, but
Nate Wiggins, Arnold. I know you're high on Arnold.
I am. You definitely. The Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to give them a B.
I agree.
Bringing back Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed on the franchise tag at the moment. The one that was weird to me is the Drew Tranquil signing. I didn't think it was like super necessary. You have another linebacker on roster right now who doesn't get a ton of playing time, but when he has Leo Chenal, he's good. I like him, but he just hasn't had a ton of playing time, and this was probably his opportunity to get that playing time, and now he's not going to. So, again, I found it a little weird. You could have spent that money somewhere else instead of spending it on Drew. But if you really like him and you like the system, and he does a lot. He does a lot for that. He calls up the plays. He moves guys around. You could see it when watching the games. Everybody pretty much watched the Super Bowl, so you could see it there. He's a big part of that defense, so I get it. That's why you bring it back. But, at least he has two good Achilles. So it's a B for me, for the Kansas City Chiefs. So what about you? Your favorite team?
To me, they just won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Do you really need to improve your team?
You don't even need to really question them either.
But besides that, it's a C- to me because their biggest issue is wide receiver, and they haven't filled that out yet. And I don't like them waiting for their last pick in the draft to fill it. You're at that point, you've run out of the cream of the crop of the wide receivers, and they're probably going to take Xavier Worthy, right? And then it's going to be Patrick Mahomes to Worthy for the next 4 years, and that's going to be a nightmare for everybody. But your biggest need was cornerback and defensive tackle. You extended Chris Jones, you franchised L'Jarius, so it's probably more of like a B- for me. But on the offensive side, you gotta get Mahomes help because, frankly, if we're one holding penalty and one ruptured Achilles away from them not winning the Super Bowl. So
yeah, definitely. And again, we talked about the wide receiver thing. That's a consensus right now. Nothing's moving away from that. Xavier Worthy, definitely a big landing spot for him. So again, nothing changes for us, I don't think. Now you want to take the reins on the Raiders. What do you want to give them? Because there's a vacuum grade and then there's my grade. Depending on who you are.
I'm going to give it a C+. I don't hate what they've done, but you release Hunter Renfrow and you haven't replaced him yet. You upgraded at quarterback, which is cool. You made a massive signing at defensive tackle, which is awesome. But
cut Jimmy.
Yeah, who's suspended anyway. Cut Brian Hoyer. So now you're Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. That's cool. You don't have a number 2 wide receiver. That's iffy. You don't have a starting running back. That's iffy. Neither of those positions are you're going to fill in the first round of the draft. So you may or may not be getting a position player there. I haven't heard anything about Henry Ruggs being paroled, so you're not going there. Corner seems to be where you're going to go with the draft. Something on defense, knowing them, they're going to take Chop Robinson, right?
I mean, crazy.
It just new regime over there. It's hard to say. I don't think. The thing is, I think they upgraded at quarterback, so overall they got better, but I think they regressed a little bit talent-wise. Hunter Renfrow hasn't been anything for the past year or two. Josh Jacobs is a beast at running back, though, so it's kind of tough to see him walk.
Yeah, definitely.
But what's his face? My man Gruden was playing him in the fourth quarter of the third preseason game. Last year or a year ago. So, they've been on the outs with him for a couple of years now, and he just continues to play. So I expect big things out of him in his next stop.
And he's probably going to get more playing time there too. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, it's a CC+ for me because you upgraded the quarterback position. You got a massive player at defensive tackle, but you kind of slid backwards in some very important spots also. So
I agree with everything you're saying. And then on top of that too, it makes it a C, not a C+, just because I'm not like Christian Wilkins got paid. That's a big contract for him. He's a good player, great locker room personality. He really turned it up with the sack production this year. I like bringing back Andre James, and the Gardner Minshew signing is good too, but too much money and losing a lot of pieces. It's not ideal. I give it a C. And right now, too, looking at the consensus for the Raiders, if I can find right there, interior defensive lineman is what they're
really? Okay.
slotted at, which they could. That changes. You bring in Christian Wilkins. I don't think that you need to bring in a Byron Murphy, right? Those are two guys who play very similar types of roles. You don't need both of them on there. So, kind of like corner, wide receiver, they like speed. You want to reach on a Brian Thomas if you're kind of banking on being bad. You just want Gardner Minshew as your starter. You maybe want a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix in the second, and you want to go Brian Thomas at what, 12th, 13th, whatever they are. I think it's 13th. So, it does change for me. I don't think that you go into your defensive line, then go honestly almost anywhere with that pick, and it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, ideally, probably trade up and go get a quarterback, but what do you think?
I just think there's so many people, so many teams that JJ McCarthy makes sense to right there. And signing Gardner Minshew to a 2-year deal screams bridge.
Yeah.
The Raiders seem like the type of organization that's going to draft Michael Penix right there, though. Like the big armed spread offense guy. To trade up and get JJ McCarthy,
pocket passer.
Yeah, it would be a smart decision. I just don't see them doing that smart decision thing. So
it's a 1-year deal. Eric Kendricks. Doesn't surprise me. I don't think we signed anything else but 1-year deals. Kirk Cousins has a chain on in the Atlanta Falcons signing room that says Dirty Birds. Fat chain on his neck and says Dirty Birds. It looks
That's
like with both of his kids have the same chain on. That's pretty cool. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to give them a C. You don't really have any money to play with, so can't really give you anything besides that. I like the safety they brought back. Not going to say his name, but Gilson. I like the safety they brought back. I think that's fine, but can't really do anything. And the guys you signed, just like depth help. Gus Edwards, I guess is that your starter right now at the moment?
Unfortunately,
he's gonna get injured partway through the season, but okay, it's a C. With a limited amount of money, we're gonna have the same conversation with the Saints, and we already had the conversation with the Bills and the Dolphins. We're gonna have the same conversation here soon. You can't do a whole lot when you have a whole lot of money, so it's a C.
I think that cutting Mike Williams and getting yourself under the salary cap to where you're flexible now. They restructured Khalil Mack. They were able to keep him. Joey Bosa hasn't been moved yet, so I think that I'm at a C+ on this because they didn't have to hemorrhage all those guys to get to flexibility. Interesting decision to cut Mike Williams and keep Keenan Allen, just judging on the age of the players.
Justin Herbert's guy, though.
I know. I still kind of have my eyes out on the Joey Bosa to 49ers trade. So
that guy I follow on Instagram had it randomly pinned to the top. When something is about to happen soon, he'll randomly have it pinned to like the top. I forgot there was a cut guy that we said was going to get cut. Oh, it's a Mike Williams thing. And right before, a little bit, about an hour and a half before it happened, he pinned it to the top. Mm-hmm. And then he took it off, and then he posted that he was released. Yeah, he does that all the time. I don't know where he gets his sources from. But he does that pretty consistently too. Yeah. Yeah, the Chargers.
It's just tough. They didn't have any money to do anything. So it's a C for me. I like the fact that they didn't have to hemorrhage a bunch of talent to try to get back under the salary cap. So I give them props for that. Number 5 pick, obviously there's a ton they could do there. There's Joe Alt.
Tackles consensus right now. Is that still where they go?
They didn't do much to change it.
You just let go of Mike. Do you now lean towards the wide receiver a little bit more now at this point? What do you think?
I would just take Brock Bowers.
5?
Yeah, why not?
I think you're smoking.
Sheldon Rankins and the Bengals are agreeing on it.
It's a good sign. I actually like that sign a lot because they need interior defensive line help a lot. Let's go ahead and move on to the LA Rams. Let's go ahead and look at that. Another division rival for you to go ahead and take the reins on. Go ahead and take it away. The Rams, what you got for them?
This is terrific content. Me staring at my phone, wanting to see if something exciting is going to happen. The Rams re-signed a guard at $16 million a year. And they signed another guard at $17 million a year. I hate it. Wow. I hate it. You just invested $100 million into the guards on your offensive lineman. Your number 1 wide receiver is hella old. Your quarterback is hella old. Your running back is who? You don't really.
Kyron, what are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, he's young though. Like these
He's
guys
a
explode.
good player.
He's a good player, but they explode on the scene, and it's like there's no like. Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
What did the Rams do to get better besides $100 million at guard?
Darius Williams, one of the better corners out there.
Okay.
You got to bolster up the offensive line when your quarterback can't move because he's off, right? If you still think your window's open right now, you got to protect
who are the
him
starting
somehow.
guards for the two teams that played in the Super Bowl this year? And what do they make?
I don't know. Well, one of the teams lost, so I don't think that one matters. But we can look at the Chiefs if you want.
I'm just saying, like, paying guards $20 million. What does the name Spencer Burford mean to you? What does the name Aaron Banks mean to you?
I know Banks.
Banks. I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer in building your team that way. It's $100 million for interior offensive line.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I liked.
I know you love interior offensive linemen. You're weird about that, but like, you got
Kansas City Chiefs has Joe Thuney and Trey Smith. What are you talking about?
You got starting. What do they make?
I think Thuney actually makes. Look at the contracts.
You got starting guards in the NFL every year that were taken in the 5th round.
Thuney makes $16 million a year, a 5-year, $80 million contract.
I mean, that's high up there. It's not 21, but it's a lot of.
I think Trey Smith isn't Trey Smith young? Really young? Yeah, he's only 24. He's on a rookie deal. He'll be a free agent next year.
Whatever, bro. You can blow the Rams if you want. It just doesn't. If I'm a Rams fan and we just spent $100 million on guards, I'm just like, okay, yay. Like, what the?
Like, what else? What do they need?
I think they need everything.
I disagree. I don't think they do need everything. I think
Aaron
you have a wide receiver.
Aaron Donald's in the twilight, and Puka Nacua is cool, but
we clearly know the Rams bank on winning a Super Bowl, and they don't care about what comes afterwards. They're banking on Matt Stafford bringing him to another Super Bowl, Aaron Donald being there. So you're protecting the offensive line. You don't care that Cooper Kupp is old because, again, you're banking on Matt Stafford being there. So you have a 1 and a 2 at wide receiver that are both really good. You have a really good running back. I don't care what you say. The defensive line is good. The corner help is what they needed, and they brought that in.
All right. $100 million in guards ain't helping them win the division this year.
I mean, I didn't say it's going to help them win the division, but they'll definitely make the playoffs again, I think.
That should be the goal, right?
Yeah, it's everyone's unrealistic goal. You can write it on a board and fucking get it tattooed on you. It doesn't fucking matter what you do. Only two teams make it.
Let me ask you this, though. The Eagles. Compare the Eagles offseason to the Rams offseason. The Eagles did 1,000 times more than what the Rams did. The Eagles did a shit ton to try to improve their team, whether it's good or whether it's bad, whatever. That's why we're grading this. We'll see in a year or two, right? But there's teams that went out there and significantly tried to improve their team, and then the Rams paid $100 million to guards.
Yeah, but they also paid C.J. Gardner-Johnson $11 million a year to a safety that didn't play all last year and has an attitude problem and say the Philly fans suck. Like, I'm not about it. I don't get it.
Okay. Well, shit, give them an A if you want.
That's a B plus. To guards. I'm just saying. It makes sense to me.
What other teams paying $100 million to guards in the NFL?
You want to go down all of them?
I bet
every team and look at their contracts.
There can't be one, man. There can't.
Oh, we're doing this right now. The contracts, positions. I'm gonna have both left guard and right guard open right now.
The PFF projected contract for Jonah Jackson was 4 years, $50 million, $12 million a year. They gave him 3 years, $50 million. And the projected contract for Kevin Dotson was $15 million a year. They gave him 16. Both ranked. They gave the Jonah Jackson signing a C- in value.
That's fine. Did Micah Wenu get re-signed with the Patriots? Did I just know? Okay, no, I did know that. Hold on, my internet won't load the other guard page, but I do want to know who the right guards too. Because I'm trying to pull them both up at the same time. And don't worry, I can cut out all the silence too.
I mean, them taking Darius Williams and then potentially drafting like Nate Wiggins, like I see what that does for them, but just not super impressed.
For some reason, it won't pull up the right guard page too, so I can't look at the other guards. I literally can't look it up. It won't pull it up.
Jonah Jackson was ranked 37th in PFF grade last year.
And you also like Jeff Okudah, who's ranked like 112.
I know, but he signed for like 1 year, $4 million.
Yeah, but you still like him, and you like what's Jonah Williams or whatever his name is.
I know, but you're not paying them $100 million.
Again, I think when you look at the team needs too, they have
Steve. They have Steve Avila on the roster. He was a rookie for them last year, and he was ranked higher than the guy they gave $50 million to. It's just
they're
weird.
going to play him at center because he plays center too.
I guess.
I'm telling you, dude.
He's 37th best ranked corner, and they gave him $50 million. That's a lot of money. People killed the Colts because they gave Quentin Nelson $20 million. And he was the best guard in football for like a number of years. And now the
best
Rams
guard in
gave
football for like a year.
Now the Rams gave two guards $50 million. And we're just like, yeah.
I'm doing it the hard way. Hold on. Man, you know what? I don't even care. Fuck this. This is stupid anyways. Fuck this. This is dumb. Going to the Miami Dolphins. I got to cut out however long in silence. It's stupid. Yeah, I'll take Miami.
You couldn't.
I don't care. It's per team need. The Panthers did the same thing, and I like the move too because it depends on your quarterback. Depends on what you need. One, the other guy can't move, and then one's he's little. Both have the same thing. Now, if this is another team, like if the Colts did that, I don't see a point in it. There's no point to pay the two guards like that.
Laken Tomlinson's a free agent. They could have picked him up for like $7 million a year.
I don't care about Laken Tomlinson. He's not a good player.
He was a fine player.
Yeah, he's a fine player. But if your quarterback can't move and he's ancient, if he gets touched, he'll die. You might want to protect him.
You know what it takes to build a team, and giving two guards $100 million is not a successful way to build a team.
Who else do they have on the offensive line?
Just because you don't have anyone else doesn't mean you have to overpay.
A championship winning formula is a quarterback, 3 offensive weapons. You need 3 offensive linemen. You need 2 edge rushers, and you need 3 defensive playmakers. You need 3 offensive linemen. The Miami Dolphins get a B-. They signed Jordan Brooks, and this is fucking dumb.
I will do the research after we go off air, and I will tell you that there's nobody that has $100 million invested in 2 guards unless someone's making 80 and somebody's making 20. Like it's a lot of money.
Jordan Brooks went to the Miami Dolphins along with Aaron Brewer. Shaq Barrett also signed a 1-year deal, and Jordan Poyer as well, which I think are all good signings for that B- grade. The problem is Miami lost Christian Wilkins. Connor Williams is gone at this point because they brought in Aaron Brewer. Clearly, it was more than $7 million a year, and plus Connor has some injury concerns there. So you lose a couple of big guys to free agency. You don't bring them back. You try to replace them a little bit. I think you get a B-. I think it's fine. What do you have?
I think that C plus B minus sits right for the Miami Dolphins, although I think their offseason grade can be a lot lower because as of right now, they haven't done anything to, you compare 2 teams that are going to compete in that division in the AFC next year and how much better the Houston Texans got, and Miami didn't really do anything. It's just kind of rough for them, I think.
If you look at the consensus for the draft, they're slated for Graham Barton, who's a 5-position flex player. It's pretty much offensive lineman. Does Aaron Brewer or re-signing Robert Jones really move the needle for you to sway away from that, or is that kind of what we're targeting? I mean, shoot, if I know they're probably... I guess they brought in Aaron Brewer, that's fine. I was going to say they could hope that JPJ falls, but you could also play guard, but there's other guys who play guard in the draft too, and you don't need to take them that high.
There's just a ton of interior offensive talent there. There's a couple tackles that may be offensive guards. There's just a ton of talent right there. I mean, now there's you could draft one of those guys, or you could just pay another guy $50 million when there's guys sitting there at your pick. But there's multiple different ways to skin a cat. And the Miami Dolphins, man, I just feel like they're going to regress big time when they lose Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek is not 27, and so their window is interesting for now. And it's going to play out to Tyreek Hill's gone. Are we extending Tua? There's a lot up in the air. Luckily, Waddle's legit. A-Chain seems like he's legit. So you have pieces there. It's an interesting offseason. And if the Miami Dolphins are one of those teams that falls out, every year somebody goes from last to first and someone falls out. If the Miami Dolphins are that team this year, even though I'm a big believer in Mike McDaniels, anytime a 49ers guy goes somewhere, I want them to be successful. I wanted Robert Saleh to be successful. And that's another team. The Jets are getting Aaron Rodgers back this year. Maybe he might run for vice president, I heard. So maybe he won't be back. But it's just one of those things where I think that they haven't done enough. So it's not a terrible free agency period for them, but they need to do more if they want to continue to compete. You have to get better every year to compete in the NFL. You can't just spend $100 million on lackluster positions and hope to compete. So
absolutely. You want to go ahead and take the reins on the Minnesota Vikings.
I hate everything the Vikings have done.
What?
Yeah, I hate it all. That's not true. I like Grenard. He's a good player, right?
Cashman's a good player too. So is Van Ginkel,
I'm
Aaron
just
Jones.
confused. Like, can you explain to me why you would sign Grenard for 4 years, 76 million, and not just not sign Daniil, right? And Van Ginkel is a good player, and I think he got like 9 million a year. I like that,
Yeah,
but you know, and the Aaron Jones thing, you cut Alexander Madison,
it was
you
horrible
you
last year.
replace him with, well, I mean, let's be honest, you cut Dalvin Cook and Madison, and Dalvin Cook went on and didn't do anything, and you
Yeah.
replace him with Aaron Jones. That's cool, but this just, it's a C plus for me because it seems like they're resetting. I think they're taking JJ McCarthy. Seems like they've reset for that.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I kind of wonder what what are like, again, their offseason grade could be different because what is happening with Justin Jefferson? That's kind of lingering out there right now.
From the last thing that I saw was that they're not fielding any offers and that they're looking to extend them to like a $35 million a year contract.
Gotcha.
DJ Reader is on a plane to meet with Detroit.
Detroit didn't do much. That would be good for them.
I actually really like all these pickups. Grenard, the contract is less. It's 4 years, 76 million, while where is the contract? The Neil Hunter is 2 years,
40. Oh, was it 50?
Yeah, it's 49. Yeah. So it's cheaper, and Jonathan Grenard is younger, and you're not a team that's built to go right now. While a team like the Texans is obviously they're putting their foot on the pedal, right? They're ready to go now. They say, we're going to build off the success. We're not going to stay stagnant. We're not going to be like Dan Campbell and tell our players that we're not going to make it next year. We are making it next year, and we want to make it further next year. Blake Cashman's a good pickup, a really good pickup in my mind. I like Blake Cashman. He was one of my re-signed candidates that I thought the Texans should bring back. Grenard, again, younger, cheaper contract, good edge rusher. Van Ginkel, good rotational edge rusher. Had a good year last year in Miami. Sam Darnold is a good bridge guy for whoever they bring in. JJ, most likely. Aaron Jones, your running back room was god-awful, and it's an immediate upgrade. So I like everything they did. I think they addressed a couple of issues, especially with that edge position there. They were a big consensus to take an edge. Now, obviously, that kind of goes out the window. You either go corner or you trade up and you go quarterback. So I'm going to give the Minnesota Vikings an A. The New England Patriots.
They're taking JJ, bro. Come on.
Honestly, I mean, they have to, right? What's your other... Is your plan Sam Darnold?
That's honestly why their offseason doesn't make any sense to me. It's incomplete. It's incomplete. I don't understand the Grenard signing if you're rolling out Sam Darnold next year. I just don't. The Cashman signing, okay, fine. But an interesting pick at 11 there because I think there's a couple teams that are going to be trying to jump them. So
yeah, definitely.
We'll see what they do. Patriots?
Yeah, the Patriots. Did you take the last one? All right. Oh, you took it, right. So Patriots is me. This is a team that brings in a lot of guys or re-signs some guys, and I don't think it's a B minus. I like bringing back Hunter Henry. I think that's a really good move. I think you absolutely should. Bring in Mike Onwenu over Trent Brown. 100% the move. Has the flexibility to play all 5 spots pretty much at this point. You damn near have played him all 5 spots. Kyle Duggar, he had the transition tag placed on him, right?
Yep.
I think it was a transition. So if someone offers him a contract, they have the opportunity to match it. The Jacoby Brissett signing, perfect. I think that's probably one of the better signings. I don't really care for Antonio Gibson. Kendrick Bourne's cool. I like Kendrick, but you need to beef up the wide receiver room, and that's the guy you target. Cool. Josh Uche hasn't really had a great year last year. I like the Sion Taki signing, but none of these. It doesn't move them. I guess maybe it's because the Patriots need so much. It doesn't really do a lot for me. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay, cool. Like a lot of these guys would be cool rotational guys somewhere else. Like if Hunter Henry signed with the Bengals, I'd be stoked. Michael Onwenu signing with Dallas, I'd be stoked. A lot of these guys, but Antonio Gibson, he's a rotational guy. Jacoby Brissett, he's a backup. I'm not super stoked. A lot of guys, it's a B minus to me. I don't know about you though.
I'm a C plus on this one. Bringing back Hunter Henry for your potential young quarterback is good. Kendrick Bourne's a
Yeah,
third down assassin. That's good. Running
yeah.
back depth is always helpful. You release J.C. Jackson, who, wow, that dude got paid off of nothing. That's not true. He got paid off of production and then turned into a nothing.
Yep.
Keeping Kyle Duggar, who is a good young player. He's a top safety in the league. It's all just kind of like, okay. Now what? Like, this team needed to get better in a lot of places. Jacoby Brissett, if they take Marvin Harrison Jr. third, is hella weird, but we'll see. I mean, again, seems like this is going to be one that might change with off-season grading, but for now, they didn't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And clearly their money was invested well because they didn't overspend at any one position. I won't make a guard joke on this one, but I just think when you need so much, it would have been nice to see them to bring in something that was star level. And
Yeah.
I think for right now, they didn't really. They did upgrade at the tackle position, so that was. I'm gonna change it. It's a B minus. You have to upgrade tackle. You have to upgrade the tackle. I like Austin Hooper. So
Yeah. They brought in Okafor, the tackle. So
yeah, this is a little underrated for them. I mean, if this was Bill Belichick with Brady, I'd be like, wow, this is great. But that's what kind of this offseason seems like. Not a team that needs a million different things.
Yeah, I think we're going to go through the next couple of years of learning who the New England Patriots are again, because identity's been so set for a long time. Now we're kind of trying to figure it out.
Damn, you got to grade the Patriots, and you're leaving me with the Saints. That's whack.
Yep. Have fun. Go ahead. We're the Saints.
I'm not going to kill the Saints for not having the flexibility. Tyron is a good player. They brought him back. That's cool. Whatever. C minus. Your decisions. The problem is you cannot be in cap hell when your team sucks. Like, that's the problem. Like, the Bills are in cap hell. Well, they were competing for a Super Bowl, right? What the hell have you competed with? Like, what are you competing for? You just lost the best quarterback on your roster. He went and signed elsewhere for $4 million. Like, you couldn't have brought him back for $4 million as the starter. Like, a lot of things don't make sense here. But when you don't have money, you don't have flexibility. Your head coach
still have Taysom Hill on the roster.
Your head coach is, he's not a head coach. He's okay. Your quarterback hasn't been good in a number of years. And then you have Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. And it's like, okay, there's some pieces here, but what are we doing? And if you take a look at everybody jumps to the draft. It's like you're 14th. Like, you're not taking, like, what are you going to take? A corner there? You're going to take an offensive tackle,
the last time they drafted in that region, I mean, you drafted Trevor Penning. And when he was drafted, I was scratching my head. I'm like, why the hell are you taking him?
Trevor Penning.
I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all coming out of the draft. So I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a C to me too. I'm not gonna knock him because of the no cap thing. No, we should. I'm not going to. You don't have money, but I'm grading this off of what you can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna smash a team like this with an offseason grade when you didn't make moves to free up the flexibility to make your team better. So
this is definitely gonna be different in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
6 weeks, 7 weeks. This is definitely going to be a different.
Because entering free agency with no money flexibility is an F. But we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the signings and everything. So.
Yep. The New York Giants. This is also a C.
I'm going to give them an A just so I can argue with you about a division rival. Just like you did with me.
You know what? I don't like the guard that they brought in because John Runyon is not very good for $10 million a year. And the Brian Burns thing feels a little bit weird.
Is it?
I mean, the second and fifth is cool, but then you pay him 5 years, $150 million. I don't get it.
You don't like stacking Thibodeau and Brian Burns?
It's a cool concept, but it feels like more of a. You need other pieces, man, and you go out and go get Brian Burns. Like, great player. I love the value that you traded him for, and you gave him a contract. Congrats, you got him locked for the next 5 years. They signed
a stud running back. I think it was 2 years ago. I gave you. I think Devin Singletary was my breakout running back of the year. I gave you. And you're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, just watch. I rushed for him with 1,700 yards in Madden this year. He's a stud.
Oh man,
the Drew Lock is hella weird too. I don't understand that for any amount of time.
You're gonna have Drew Lock and Daniel Jones and JJ McCarthy all on one roster. It's a little bit strange. It's the roster of developmental QBs. Is that what we're going for? I mean, you win. Congrats, you win at something. But yeah, it's a C. Again, the Brian Burns thing's a little bit confusing. If I was a Giants fan, I'm probably stoked about it. I think it's probably awesome. But what do you think?
Defense can change a lot of things, and I think that Thibodeau and Brian Burns I think that's nice. So it's New York, man. You got to do something.
Yeah, I guess so. They're slated for a wide receiver right now. Do you agree with that? Is that still on the table for you? A Malik Neighbors? Or are you going to go after a quarterback?
I don't know. I think it's a trade out spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be.
Because I think that, I don't know. If you're not going to take JJ McCarthy, then does Neighbors move the needle so much to where you can't just trade out and trade back to the 20th, 25th area and pick up some more? You need talent. You just need a lot of talent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think, the team needs a lot. And, you lose like a guy like Xavier McKinney too. You lose some safety help on the back end. And yeah, again, it's a confusing move, and I'm not sure where to kind of place them. You lose Saquon and A'Shawn Robinson, Xavier McKinney. You lose Tyrod Taylor and bring Drew Lock. I guess that's why you do it. But Daniel Jones will probably be your backup next year anyway. So yeah, again, weird. I'm going to give it a C. You get to take the New York Jets. Isn't that so exciting? We both get a New York team.
Is this exciting?
What do you want to go ahead, dude? Because I definitely don't have a high grade on them at all.
No, I mean, they didn't do anything completely wrong, so I can't really give it an F. Like, I don't hate it, but it's a D to me. Like, this feels like Saleh collecting some of his friends. Like Isaiah Oliver lost his job in training camp for the 49ers to a team that had massive concerns. They brought in Jason Verrett in the back half of the season to try to play him before he got injured again because Isaiah Oliver was unplayable. They had to move him to safety, and it sounds like that's what the Jets are going to do is try to play him at safety. They signed Javon Kinlaw, who got absolutely bullied in the run game for his entire time with us. That was the DeForest Buckner replacement. That never panned out. You signed Tyrod Taylor, which I guess is whatever. But if Aaron Rodgers goes down, your season is over anyway. I just, this is all like, this is chicken noodle soup out of a can. That's what it is. It's just kind of like, like I'm feeling kind of icky and I need something that's not going to upset me too much. So I'm just going to eat the New York Jets free agency moves because it's some chicken broth and a noodle and it's just like nothing impressive.
I give them a D.
The New York Jets, you go out to a 4-star restaurant, you order meatloaf. That's what the New York Jets free agency period was.
Damn.
And don't hit me with none of this. It was bison meatloaf. I don't give a fuck. It was meatloaf. Meatloaf is like microwave hamburger with a slice of American cheese on top. Yeah.
I'm going to give them a D. Yeah, it's just nothing impressive here. I don't really like anything they brought in. And you still have a bunch of holes on that offensive line and you haven't really addressed. They're slated right now for offensive tackle. Again, this doesn't move me. Nothing that got signed. It doesn't move me. You need to bring an offensive tackle at the offensive line.
Assuming that helps. I mean, the thing about it, man, is they have invested in that position. It just hasn't worked out. So what makes it think that, Mekhi Becton, Laken Tomlinson, it didn't work out. So,
Philadelphia Eagles.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go and take it.
Good.
I'm gonna give him
a hater.
Nah. The Bryce Huff contract's fine. It's cool to bring him in. I don't think it was like the biggest need on your team. When I said earlier about like the running back position as a luxury, what are you doing type thing to the Bears, it could apply to the Eagles, but the running back position is so important to the Eagles and the running game is so important to them. This makes sense. To bring in Saquon bolsters it immediately, and it's really important for Jalen Hurts because he can't do anything else anyways because he sucks. You got to bring in a guy who can actually run the rock, and if you can develop that trust between Saquon and Jalen, you can become dangerous again. And then the safety, CJ Gardner-Johnson being signed to a 333 is not good. Bringing back Brandon Graham it's like your grandfathered into your phone plan. Congratulations. And then you sign Jake Elliott to a massive deal. I don't know if you saw that. So it's cool. you brought in some good pieces with Huff and Barkley, but the rest is just kind of okay, cool, nice. You short up your special teams with your long snapper, your punter, and your kicker. But yeah, so it's a B to me. What do you have? Since I'm a hater,
Man, the Jason Kelsey retirement really sucks for them. I think that that takes a lot out of a team that their season ended very badly. But I really, really like the Saquon Barkley edition. Like, I love pairing him back there with Jalen Hurts. Kind of in the same vein as us talking about Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I just love what that brings to the table. And it's very, very clear that making him a passer, that whatever they tried to do last year was a mistake, and they need to go back to running him. And I don't care that you've paid him the money, because just because you paid him the money, you can't let him be a pocket passer and have him look like trash because you paid him the money. And like I've said a couple times, I think Howie is over there laying in bed at night wondering, did I make a mistake giving this dude the bag? And you got to do everything you can. So I really like the Saquon Barkley. Pretty shocking, but I really like the signing for them. So besides that, it's a B- for me, just because I think that the Huff signing's cool, but he's not an every down player. I really like Huff personally. He hasn't graded out very well in most of the time that he's played in the league, which is weird. But it's just it's the same thing I said about the Rams. What did the Eagles do to really beat the 49ers next year, beat the Cowboys next year? And I'm just not. I think it all comes back on Jalen. And, they signed some offensive, they signed a bunch of coaches, and the Eagles have basically, it feels like they picked up their game board and dumped it all in the box and reset it all back up. And they're just making changes everywhere. So,
they're plugging holes where they let go guys. And
this is a team that'll probably get a pretty good offseason grade from me, because they did something. They tried. Now, we don't know if it's going to work out or not. We'll find out, but at least they made an attempt.
I think that's what's so exciting about the podcast, right? We get to look at all these mock drafts from the podcast and the free agency stuff, and let's look back at this, and this, and I think it'll be pretty exciting when we get to go back next year and look at it when we have 10,000 subs. Pittsburgh Steelers. Go ahead.
I don't have much thought on this. They got a potential Hall of Fame quarterback for $1 million. That's cool. They lost Allen Robinson, and he wasn't much. It just, I don't know. They signed Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen's legit, so I give them props for that. Because of the Patrick Queen signing, I'll put it at a B-. They got a super, super talented quarterback for no money at all, so that's cool, because they didn't have a good quarterback on the roster to begin with. Dante Jackson at corner. The Steelers, we know they're going to have a winning record because that's all they do, but it's just
non-losing record.
Correct. I apologize. It's just one of those things where I'm just not. It hasn't moved me. So, but I watched Russell Wilson decline in Seattle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we saw it in Seattle. Like, 49ers fans that were paying attention, Seahawks fans that were paying attention. It's like that. This is not the same guy. And then he went to Denver and obviously was terrible. So
yeah. I'm gonna give it a C+. The Dante, how do you get fleeced by the Panthers? That's crazy. I don't get it. Dante Jackson gonna fight for a roster spot, bro. Like, he's not a good corner. He's just not. He was not even gonna be on the roster most likely for the Panthers by the time the season started. And if he wasn't gonna be starting.
Right.
The Russell Wilson thing is an upgrade, but congratulations, you upgrade over Kenny Pickett. Cool. It's like the bare minimum. It's like before you were cooking me chicken with no seasoning, and now you put salt on it. Great. That's okay,
and
maybe,
I guess. Because Mason Rudolph played well to end the season. So,
yeah.
And you let him walk.
Yeah, he signed somewhere else. And Patrick Queen, yeah, he's a legit player, but this is what you're concerned about?
Bro,
that's like your number one.
I hate it for him. I'm like, I don't know if the Cowboys called, but if they did, like,
I don't even want to know if we called or not. I already heard that we tried to reach out to a couple of people, and I've already heard the stories about it. I'm not happy.
Go ahead. The Steelers, man, why? I don't get it. But I guess also the thing is, I have to say, is when you're a middle linebacker, you have to cash in on the biggest bag because you don't get paid anything anyway. Fred Warner makes like $16 million, $15 million a year. Like, the Los Angeles Rams are paying their guards more than Fred Warner makes. It's just, when you're a guard, when you're a linebacker, you have to take the biggest contract you can get because you just don't
Yeah.
get paid at the top of the market. The NFL just doesn't value middle linebackers.
Real quick, remember I was telling you that when he pins something, it usually signifies that something's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
He just pinned a post that he made 10 hours ago about the Chiefs pursuing Marquise Brown, and he just pinned it right now.
Oh, good, because that means that they won't. Hopefully, they'll leave Xavier Worthy alone.
No, they're just going to take him too. Like, you know what? Just take everyone with speed. Somebody's down there.
Right.
Yeah. But their draft consensus is JPJ, so it's a center / guard. Do they still go there? Or they want to plug in a different hole? I mean, you lost a wide receiver. Do you want to go try to pick up a different one? Or what do you? I mean, they need a lot, I feel like. So what are you going for here?
Can't get invested in talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. These guys are vanilla ice cream to me. It's just so boring.
They're gonna take BPA. That's what's boring too.
Yeah, they're gonna take Jackson Powers and just wow, this guy's gonna be our center for the next 10 years. Well, that was a great pick. Good job, guys. It's vanilla ice cream, man. Tapioca pudding. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Like, I look at it from a fan's perspective, man. What did the Steelers do to get their fans excited? They signed Dange, Russ Wilson. That's not exciting. They signed Patrick Queen. That's not exciting. Like, what? Come on, man. Like, you got fleeced by the Panthers. That's embarrassing.
Oh, man.
The most noteworthy thing that's happened to the Steelers in the last 5 years is Myles Garrett tried to kill their quarterback. Like, that's been the most exciting thing to come out of Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. Let's move on to your team.
What are you going to do? You're going to compete with Baltimore? You're not. Just whatever. Just pack it in until Lamar retires.
Oh,
even though Lamar's a terrible quarterback.
I get it. Didn't you already say that the Bengals signed Sheldon Rankins? Oh, yeah. It's a 2-year, $26 million deal. That's just the numbers started to come out. I get to take the Niners. Wow, that's fitting. Cool. I'm going to give the Niners, I'm going to give them a B-. Actually, Eric Hendricks just, I got to drop it. Sorry, I forgot about Eric Hendricks. It was a B-. It's a C+ now. Leonard Floyd is a good sign. I like the trade for Malik Collins as a run stopper. I'm not really a big fan of the Gross Matos signing because he's not a very good player. I guess cool. He brought back Colt McKivitz. To me, this is C+. Again, it was a B- when Eric Hendricks was sitting there supposed to be signing with you guys, but it's a C+ for me. It's your team, so I'll let you take it away.
The 49ers have to carry 10 defensive linemen. It's just the way they need to be. And before the day started, they had subtracted defensive linemen and hadn't added any, but they've kind of shored that up with the tight end and Kevin Givens coming tight end. The trade with the Texans, a TE is what I was thinking. They shored that up. The Eric, that kind of sucks, but that happens in free agency. We have a second-round tender on Juwan Jennings right now. We've got to keep an eye on that. We don't have any tight ends on the roster except for George Kittle. We don't have any safeties on the roster except for a rookie from last year, Jair Brown, and Talanoa Hufanga, who's coming back from ACL surgery. But luckily, they'll probably be able to pull somebody off a cruise ship a week before a playoff game and start him. So that's good. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is the 49ers have hella draft picks like they always do. They just got awarded like 5 comp picks. So there's not any major holes on the roster. They cut Eric Armstead, which, he's been injured. So we'll see. The way the 49ers make it sound is they have a contract presented to him. They asked him to take less money and he said he wanted to test his market. So I don't think, I think it's one of those things where he may be back potentially, but like I said, I still kind of really think the Joey Bosa thing is coming, and the 49ers make a splash every year. Charvarius Ward, Jalen Hargrave, however you think that ended up last year, he was the biggest, defender on the market last year, and they swooped him up. So I still think there's a little time for a splash with them, but they got a Brandon Ayuk extension coming and a Brock Purdy extension coming, so they got to be really, really careful with the money they spend right now. So
you guys are slated to take a tackle. Does the Colt McKivitz bringing him back change that? Still, you should go with a tackle, or you should go somewhere else.
It depends what's sitting there. Offensive lineman is probably what it's going to be. That's cool. If it's if it's like Jackson Powers or Is it Graham Barton, who's like you can
Five
pencil him in at
position.
any position?
Yeah.
Basically, I would love that.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is the 49ers haven't had a pass rusher opposite of Nick Bosa registered 10 sacks since the Kansas City Chiefs guy that had back problems.
D
Ford.
D Ford. Yeah.
So the Leonard Williams, I think that fits a big hole for us. I'm really excited about that. And then everything else is just D-line depth that we need. So yeah, I think it really is, unless it's, yeah, I think it's offensive lineman right there. I mean, it's going to be tempting, right? If Chop Robinson was sitting there, or if somebody falls,
Yeah, definitely.
The defensive tackle from Texas, because we lost Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead is gone. That would be super interesting, but it all kind of just depends. I think they have a very clear, obvious need, especially with, Trent Williams is not 28. So I think drafting a guy now and getting him ready to move into that role. But also the 49ers, as long as their Super Bowl window is open, they're not going to run a rookie out there at left tackle and Colton McKivitz at right tackle. They'll go make a move if they have to. That they're not afraid to spend the money. They're the antithesis of the Dallas Cowboys. They actually go out and do what they say they're going to do. So, free agency for me right now is a C- because I really wanted Danielle Hunter, and I think we could have been a player at the contract he got. So, but I also think that my offseason grade on them when it's all said and done is going to be higher than that. So we'll see.
What about the Seattle Seahawks? It's your turn to take it away.
The Seattle Seahawks cutting both their safeties who were trash cans. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Nick Harris, it is what it is. George Font, not impressed.
Yep.
But they got rid of bad players and they haven't really replaced anyone. So, I guess the Leonard Williams signing was good, right? I mean, he got
definitely.
What did he get? Did he get $20 million a year or just under?
He's at 3 years, 64.5.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player, and you got to be able to stop the run up the middle and everything like that.
Yep.
Again, I kind of look at it in the same view as what did you do to get better for your division? You didn't do enough. You're not competing with the Niners next year. But frankly, I think you're going to really try to take Michael Penix, a Washington guy. They're slated in the mid drafts right now. I'm not looking at Seattle. Did they disappear? What's their draft pick? Do they not have one?
16.
Oh, JC Latham. That's okay. So yeah, I mean,
I have Jared Verse.
Yeah, I would like that a lot better for them. That's Jared Verse fallen. That's interesting.
Yeah. I would give them a C. It's kind of all the same things you said, honestly. Almost the exact same thing, especially when we have like the same grade. Leonard Williams, hell of a player. Nothing's really. I'm not excited about bringing back your tight end or corner. It's cool. Congrats. I'm good. If you take Verse at 16, I think that's a great pick. I'm almost done with my edge rankings. I'm getting there. Top 100 is almost done. Plus, I'll add a couple more. And Versus is my 2, and I think he's going to be very successful in the league. So,
well, we have come to it.
What?
This is my highest rated free agency period so far. So I'll let you take it away. I'm sure you're not as high on it as I am.
Whoa, this is? Wow. The Tampa Bay Bucks. I got a B on Tampa Bay. Bringing back Baker, Mike Evans, and then tagging Antoine, and then bringing back Levante David on top of that. I think this is where I get to be a victim of expectation, because I knew you had, if Mike Evans is getting a contract, you're bringing back Baker. I don't know how many times I said that to you. And then you tag Antoine, which is something I wasn't expecting. I didn't know if they're actually going to use a tag on Antoine, and they did. But I don't know if they're going to sign Antoine to a long-term deal after this year. If you can afford it, great. If that cap jumps up again and he's going to break the safety market. He's going to break through it. He's the best safety in the league, and he's going to make him a ton of money. So, again, it's probably expectation, because I kind of figured all this was going to happen. And you bring back the players you're supposed to bring back. And who else did this? And they got the same exact grade. Another one of the teams I gave a B to, the Colts. They brought back the players that they were supposed to bring back, helped them out. They get a B. It's the same thing for me, so at least a little consistency. But apparently Drew has a much higher grade than I do.
I just thought they were going to lose all these guys. You know,
Okay.
I thought they would lose Mike Evans for nothing. You know,
Yeah.
and I thought they'd lose Antoine Winfield for nothing. And they've brought everything back. They re-signed the linebacker. It's just they are in a prime position to. The NFC is not very strong. I mean,
Yeah.
who's the second seed in the NFC next year? You won't say who it is. You know who it is. It's the Cowboys, right? The 49ers, the Cowboys, and everything else. That's it. Detroit Lions aren't going back to the playoffs, apparently. You know, the Eagles are a mess. Like, there's just
I
a
love
lot.
the running joke that we use on that because I haven't heard any other podcast.
They almost were in the Super Bowl, and then Dan Campbell's like, it's real. I told these guys this might be our only shot ever. Like, it's just weird. Teams young and everything.
I know.
So I thought they'd lose everything and they'd have nothing going for them next year, and they were able to bring it all back. I don't hate the Baker contract. I mean, 3 years, $100 million, basically. I don't hate anything they did. And you got another year to try to see if you can extend Antoine Winfield. If you can't, you can't. But if you can't extend Antoine Winfield, then at the trade deadline, he's got to go for everything, for everything you can get for him. So I like the flexibility they maintained. And again, from a fan, you brought back Baker. It'd have been so crushing for them to watch Mike Evans leave. You know, and they got a Super Bowl. They got the Super Bowl. So it's a win for them. But to watch Mike Evans leave would have just been so tough for them. So for that, it's an A. And I think the highest I've given so far was an A-. So
yeah, when it comes to the draft, currently they are slated for an edge rusher at 26, specifically Mr. Chop Robinson. I would really like if Chop went there. You lose Shaq, right? You cut Shaq and he goes elsewhere. They needed edge help anyways. So I don't think that changes. I think you stick with that edge and you're pretty comfortable with it. Unless you think they should go probably somewhere else.
I've seen Graham Barton there a couple times.
I
like Graham Barton.
because they definitely could use.
I'd forgotten that they'd brought back Jordan Whitehead. I like that for them too.
Yeah. Yep. So then it's you just have that safety help, which is cool for them because last time I had Tyler Nubin going there.
Yep.
That X's it out. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. Go ahead and take it away.
So
second to last.
I'm so up in the air about this. I mean,
okay.
I don't hate 3 years, 24 for Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, $50 million for an interior offensive lineman. They got Cheeto. I like that. Kenneth Murray, I'm a big fan of. Mason Rudolph doesn't move the needle for me. And Calvin Ridley. All that money for a guy that's turning 30. It's just... But you got Tony Pollard, you got Calvin Ridley, you got DeAndre Hopkins, you got Will Levis. Okay. Tajay Spears, you know.
Yeah.
You added a corner, you added a linebacker. You know, it's you could start to see it kind of take place for them. I don't think it moves the needle in the AFC, unfortunately. But, you know, when you're a team like this and you want to be flashy in free agency and you want to excite your fan base, you know, Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard, those things are, you know, I think a lot of times with these teams, you know, teams fans that aren't paying attention to the other teams, they may not know the type of year that Tony Pollard had last year and why the Cowboys weren't all of that interested in bringing him back. They probably just see the flash. So they're probably pretty excited about this. I guess I didn't give it a grade. It's a B- for me.
I don't care to pay Tony Pollard that money. I just don't care for it. You know, we just talked about it earlier in the podcast. He is bottom 3, bottom 5 and 8-man stacked boxes percentage-wise in the league, and he just doesn't have a great year. And you could see it with the production and the yards per carry. It's not all that impressive. The Lloyd Cushenberry thing is a big plus because of the piss-poor nature of that offensive line. You lose Aaron Brewer, you got to bring in somebody, and Cushenberry fills that role at center. So, you know, you at least have your center, you have your left guard, you go into the drafting a tackle, right? You know, you got your whole left, your center, your left, and your left all short up. You got to feel pretty comfortable about that at the very least. You know, you got 3 offensive linemen now that you feel comfortable with and a decent offense, you know. And again, you add to the defense with Kenneth and Cheeto, and it's not bad for the Tennessee Titans. Now they're challenging Jacksonville for the second spot in the division. You know,
the Russell Wilson cut is official, by the way, also.
Oh, okay. So it's a B. That's what I'm going to give it. And again, we kind of already talked about the tackle thing. They shouldn't go anywhere else but offensive line, probably at this point, especially with the Calvin Ridley signing. The Washington Commanders, our last team. I talked about earlier how if a team signs a lot of guys, it doesn't mean you get a good grade, right? Houston Texans did it, and you get my highest grade. The Washington Commanders do it, and you get my lowest. No, I'm just kidding. You get a B. Dorrance Armstrong is a good player. I don't like 3 years, 45, though. That's pretty high. Tyler Biotish coming over. I mean, if you want to just sign all the Cowboys players, cool. Have fun in the divisional. Tyler Biotish for $10 million. I like it. Luvu 3 for 36. Okay, he's a good pass rusher. Austin Eckler's whatever. It's fine. Kind of washed. We'll see if he can do anything. Backup quarterback Marcus Mariota. Zach Ertz at tight end. You needed help there. Nick Allegretti is a pretty good signing, but you talking about offensive line depth. Cool. Jeremy Chin. I like the contract value for Jeremy Chin, a 1 year 4.1. So it's cool. I'm just not like the Dorrance Armstrong, too much money. Frankie Luvu, a little bit too much money. But the rest of them's okay. I'm fine with it. It's a B currently for me.
B plus for me. They upgraded across the board at numerous positions, and you know what? They didn't sign anyone past 2 years for the most part. A couple guys got 3-year contracts, which we all know the last year of a contract doesn't really mean much. So with the fact that they're going to take Jaden Daniels with the number 2 pick, my official projection right now, and they don't have any of these guys signed past 2 or 3 years, I think is great for cap flexibility. And they upgraded it in numerous different spots. Bobby Wagner is a cool little piece for them.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's just, he keeps getting older and he keeps playing all these snaps and getting 100 tackles and all this other stuff. So it's a good little piece for them.
Second in the league in tackles, I think, dude. I mean, come on, man. It's crazy.
So they upgraded in numerous different places and they didn't spend a ton of money to do it. And they didn't do anything super weird long-term contract wise. So I give them kudos on. But like I told you, man, I think they're gonna be a franchise on the rise and in a big way. I'm a big fan of Adam Peters, and he's worked with Belichick. He worked with John Elway. He's worked with the 49ers. I think he's going to be. I think the Washington football team, Redskin Commanders, are in for a rebirth in the NFL in terms of relevancy. So I know you don't like hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, the front office is cool. I just don't believe in the coaching staff that much. That's kind of where I sit. I don't know about Dan Quinn as a head coach, and
hater.
I don't like Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator.
Hater.
Nah, that's piss poor, dude. Cliff Kingsbury sucks ass.
He was a bad head coach, but I mean, he was
His offense also sucks.
He was Caleb Williams' offensive coordinator last year, and that dude was throwing touchdowns all over the place, 500 yards every week.
His offense was horrible.
Look at what Caleb Williams did last year, and they didn't have no wide receivers. It wasn't Ohio State. They didn't have 6 first-round picks over the next 2 years. They did have a legend, son of a legend, but besides that, I don't know. I'm not a big Cliff Kingsbury fan either. But
yeah, so honestly, next week for the mock, I'm excited. You want to do trades next week for the mock, or do you want to do no trades? Because we're gonna go back and forth, alternate.
Yeah, I think so. I think we could do trades, but you're gonna have to keep track of that, because then wherever they trade to, I'm not gonna go as far as telling you like, oh, they'll get a 5th and a 3rd and all that garbage. But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of movement in this draft. I think it's going to be really exciting. So
I think, especially in that top 10, I think there's going to be a ton.
You think we're going to have the Justin Fields news by next week?
No.
Really?
I don't think so. I think we're going to look at...
I think the quarterback free agency market's like dry. Like who's the best free agent out there right now? Jimmy? And he's not even... he's suspended the first 4 games, so...
When is the pro days? When do all pro days finish?
Oh, within the next week or 2.
When all the pro days finish, we get our news about Justin Fields a week after pro days.
Okay. Well, just so everybody knows, we're going live the moment it happens. We're going to talk about it when he gets traded for
we're leaving
a 5th and a 7th.
Our work. We're leaving work immediately.
I'm going to go live from my desk. I'll just take my camera with me.
Desk.
You can go live from the top of a 30-foot scaffolding.
All right, guys, here we go. Just sorry about the noise. Yeah, I'll just yell at everyone. Shut up. That's it, man. Grades for all 32 teams. This is the longest podcast we've done since the first week.
Mm-hmm.
Great 3-month anniversary. Nice, sweet.
Let's get to 10,000 views on this one.
Right. This is a lot of fun. We're going to continue to cover free agency next week. We're going to hit mock draft stuff. But besides that, Drew, unless you have anything else.
No, hey, guys, I only got one word of advice for you before I sign off. Don't spend $100 million on interior offensive linemen.
And that's all we got. Appreciate you sticking around to the end. Drew can fuck the fuck off. Peace.